Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit education or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. This video was made for entertainment purposes and is transformative in nature.
You feel, however, that we're making progress in this country and worldwide?
No. I will never say that progress is being made. If you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6 inches, there's no progress. If you pull it all the way out, that's not progress. The progress is healing the wound that the blow made. And they haven't even begun to pull the knife out, much less try and heal the wound. They won't even admit the knife is there.
You haven't.
Hey, John, what do you want us to take away from this extraordinary series of yours?
Well, I want people who are not Latin to have Latin envy and wish they had been born Latin, and for Latin people to realize, damn, being Latin is a superpower, man. I mean, the things that we've suffered in this country, 500 years, our wealth was stolen from us. We were lynched. We were burned, shot alive. We've been the only American citizens that have ever been deported by the millions. And yet we contribute and we build and we thrive.
To me, if you have been here for 5 years and you do not have a criminal record, you will be able to go on the dignity status for 7 years.
That status is like a probation period.
You will not be deported. You will not lose your assets. You can work anywhere in the country. You will pay taxes.
And there would be an additional tax.
A new levy of 1.5 withholding called the dignity levy will be held from your paycheck. You will not have access to any government program and will have to buy your own health insurance.
And another charge.
You will pay $700 a year for 7 years, and that adds up to around $5,000. Those $5,000 will represent around $45 billion.
This is provided that the undocumented immigrants total 10 million, but there are more.
And that fund will go to pay for border security. The other bucket of money, the 1.5, will go to re-educate or retrain any American who believes that he or she has lost his opportunity, his job opportunity, to an undocumented.
Some of the other legislators who support the bill said they are aware that it is not perfect. They said it's better than doing nothing.
Various groups, feminist, gay rights groups, and those who are defending immigrants have commandeered the black civil rights experience.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that because I think it's one of the most important points of the book. I mean, I think the way liberals have treated blacks like children and many of their policies have been harmful to blacks. At least they got the beneficiary group right. We do have to, I mean, we shouldn't. There is the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow laws. We don't owe the homeless. We don't owe feminists. We don't owe women who are desirous of having abortions, but that's, or gays who want to get married to one another. That's what civil rights has become for much of the left. They dropped the blacks after 5 minutes.
Immigrant rights are not civil rights?
No, I think civil rights are for blacks. We done to the immigrants. We owe black people something. We have a legacy of slavery. Immigrants haven't even been in this country. Democrats are dropping the blacks and moving on to the Hispanics because they're a larger group of Hispanics now. But could I just say to Jorge, I hate to disagree with you when you're attacking President Obama, but I think the point on immigration is you can have open borders or you can have a welfare state. You cannot have both.
Doing a great job in the heart these days.
You late again, Eddie.
I know what you've been trying to do. You ain't gonna do it. See, Big Red done pulled my coattail to you a long, long time ago.
That's bullshit, Eddie. You talking crazy.
Crazy like a mother fox. And you, I can see through your jive ass like glass, nigga.
Eddie, you got it all wrong, man.
Stealing my Nigga even trying to riff like me.
Hey man, why don't you get your boy out of here and detox him?
You on my spot, Flash? Slum dwelling, scum sucking, slug ass motherfucker. You on my spot, Flash? Huh? Well, you ain't gonna get it, cause you ain't got it.
These kind of boys seems innocent, Boogie. Got everybody on the post thinking he's a strong black buck. White boys envy his strength, his speed, power in his swing. Then this colored champion lets those same white boys call him Shine or Sambo.
Whoa, Lord.
And he just smiles.
Dream about the time when I was a little boy.
Can't talk.
The night would get
Can barely read or write his own name. And don't care. He'll tell you they like him. Or that colored folks ain't supposed to have but so much sense.
Yes, he would.
You know the damage one ignorant Negro can do. We were in France in the First War. We'd won decorations. But the white boys had told all them French gals that we had tails. Then they found this ignorant colored soldier. Paid him to tie a tail to his ass and run around half naked making monkey sounds. They put him on a big round table in the Cafe Napoleon. Put a reed in his hand. Crown on his head. Blanket on his shoulders and made him eat bananas in front of all them Frenchies. Oh, the white boys danced that night. Passed out leaflets with that boy's picture on it. Called him Moonshine. King of the monkeys. And when we slit his throat, you know that fool asked us what he had done wrong. My daddy told me we got to turn our backs on his kind, Wilkie. Close our ranks to the chitlins, the collard greens, the cornbread style. We are men, soldiers. And I don't intend for our race to be cheated out of its place of honor and respect in this war because of fools like CJ. You watch everything he does. Everything.
You said your people have been fighting for 400 years.
Man, your peoples too.
So I just want you to explain what you mean by that.
You know what I'm talking about. Y'all all know what I'm talking about, man. Don't sit up here and try to bait and not know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what the I talk about when I say these things. Your people too.
Explain it. Not everybody knows what you're talking about.
Radio Raheem, I don't have to explain what's understood, man. You know what I mean by that. You know what I said by that. I ain't got to go further. And if anybody don't understand that, then God be with them. Go look up the history. Go look up the history. Don't everybody believe in Google? Go Google that. See what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, man. You know what. I dare you to sit up there and say, explain. You know what I'm talking about, man. His fighting people. You know we've been fighting 400 and still fighting to this day. To this day. To this day. You just sit here, you don't know.
And since the American white man has used his control over the press to rewrite history or retell history, and since the white man can't dispute this truth, it's not hate to say that we were kidnapped and brought here, it's truth. It's not hate to say that we were Jim Crow, discriminated and segregated, it's truth. It's not hate to say that the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in this country, came up with a hypocritical desegregation decision 9 years ago, which they haven't enforced yet. That's not hate, that's truth.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions. behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. I am your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and this is We Up Report. First and foremost, I want to say what's good to the fam that should be in the house. What's good, everybody? But you know I got to do the special ones, right? Got to go ahead and give to that Mr. Thorough, always on time. I don't want to be a broken record scratched. Most thorough brother of subscribers that one could have. Want to give a first appreciation again. Cash App for Mr. Spencer 0620 for his Cash App. Me, my family, and I appreciate every time you give. It is always a needing, and again, we can do nothing but take my hat off to you. Once again, brother, we are thankful, and I see you in the house. What's good to you? What's good as always? WeUpReport gives our hats off to our executive producer, Mr. Spencer 0620. Knowledge of Aboriginal knowledge is in the house. What's good to you, brother? Glad to see you here, and anybody who should be passed by. This is the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. Happen to go down the aisle, see something that make you feel some kind of way. Remember, the motto of my show is the truth. Don't need no partner. So just in case you might have clicked on due to that thumbnail or the title in itself, what's today's show, Mr. Blow Your Mind? Well, as you see on your screen, The Walking Dead, right? But Civiliter Mortuus, The Walking Dead. Let me say that one more again. Civiliter Mortuus, The Walking Dead. Civiliter Mortuus is a legal, lawful term that they say that one is civilly dead. One who is considered as if he were or she were naturally dead. So as far when it comes to his or her rights are concerned, let me say that one more again. Civiliter mortuus means civilly dead. One who is considered as if he or she were naturally dead so far as his rights are concerned. Okay, I got a message right quick. Let's see what got up in here right quick. Mr. Spencer 0620 in the house. Always is good. What's good, brother? Always good and happy to see when you stop by. What's happening is we're going to get this show off right now. So, The Walking Dead, basically, Civiliter Mortuus means walking dead, meaning that some people don't have no civil rights about themselves, as into a system that said it's about the law. So, Black, African American, African, a lot of these terms that we use based on law that a lot of people will subscribe to, and most of us have to adhere to, have fallen, unbeknownst to many of us, in a category that we may not know, but it is being displayed right before our eyes. And again, many of my brothers and sisters who are, ones who do this kind of work, maybe they don't have the time, maybe that's not their forte, but we at WeUpReport, we try to go through and give you the things that we see, and we try to lay that out as best possibly that we can for the time limit that we do. Now, Walking Dead is like that show you see that come on where you see those one side of people, and you see the majority of them, and who does those zombies represent? Right? Who is those zombies when you look at a show like that? Is it just some kind of show that comes on and you see some characters and some of you get all involved into the personal aspects of those characters and fall in love or become engaged in? Or is there a plot in that? Are they telling something that is going to fruition? Is it the zombies representing something, and those who are those of that apocalyptic, they said, who were the survivors, are they representing somebody? Yes, you may see some people who may even look like you that may be in that, but may necessarily be representing you. Or does that on the other side of that fence, does that mean that's you or I or we? Well, we're going to go into, I'm going to show some things that just seem to be like, well, Civiliter Mortuus and being civilly dead in the system that seems to always talk about rights and law and justice. But when it comes to dealing with us, it's always seemed to be another scale. Give me the book in the back and read that one because that pertains to you. But when they're talking, they make it seem clear as day that same thing they're talking about implies you. So we're going to get into that. And let me start the show off with this first. And then we're going to move on there, right? So Civiliter Mortuus, The Walking Dead. And we're going to lay out what I mean by Walking Dead. When again, remember, it's about civil, right? Having no rights, basically being just Walking Dead, having no rights in the country. There's also other words, but we'll get into that as we go on. So look at this, and we shall be right back.
The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department released.
Now, you know damn well I did not do that. Right? They didn't go there. What the hell are they doing? So, okay, give me get what I'm asking for.
County Sheriff's Department releasing this body camera video showing a deputy throwing a woman to the ground outside a grocery store.
Stop manhandling me! I didn't do nothing!
The department says deputies were responding to reports of a robbery in progress. When they arrive, they confront the suspects, a man and a woman.
No, wait. No, I'm not under arrest for what?
You're not under arrest. You're being
Well, why are you detained for what?
After handcuffing the man, they head towards the woman.
No, you can't touch me. You can't touch me.
Get down on the ground. Get on the ground.
It's already on YouTube.
Stop.
Live.
I don't give a stop. Stop, you're gonna get punched in the face.
You punch me and you're gonna get sued.
While trying to handcuff her, deputies use pepper spray, and she accuses one deputy of putting his knee on her neck.
Get your neck off my, I can't breathe.
My client was kneeing her shoulder blade to prevent her from shifting. You can't see exactly with the knee placement, but it's not the neck. They don't place the knee on the neck to cut off the airway.
Another view of the incident from a bystander's cell phone video shows one deputy slamming the woman to the ground.
So my client, as he's trained, takes her down to the ground. It's the safest way and the most tactful way to handcuff a suspect.
The sheriff's department says it's investigating, saying personnel who do not uphold our training standards will be held accountable. The two suspects were accused of shoplifting. The deputies have been reassigned pending an investigation. An activist group calling for the deputies to be fired has planned a rally for today.
I got some technical difficulty. Somebody must be in the house that works with StreamYard, but you just do what you must do. So anyway, so we see in that clip there, what we see an older couple that seems to have been apprehended, accosted, and accused of being in the store, supposedly shoplifting or robbery, as we heard in the clip, right? Robbery or shoplifting, both. And when they came, as we see in the clip of the part that we did get, we see the elderly man being handcuffed, and he's kind of questioning what's going down. And we see that the other significant, maybe his wife, is with him, who's videotaping. And then we see her being accosted by the police, roughed up. I was say roughed me up, cuffed me up. He saw something, how much fuck me. Oh, well, anyway, right? But anyway, right? So we see that happening, and we have to say, wait a minute, they are a little older. Now, I know we in today's society where a lot of people look at people who are a little older, you're a little mad because, well, you believe that the older generation didn't do nothing to alleviate your situation as you live now, or going through the rigmarole and the obstacles of life right now. So a lot of you take out a lot of your frustration on the older ones as if like they weren't you and they were also needed to learn and maybe didn't have access like you got access to be around certain people who may drop some dimes and gems and game to you. And so your frustration is, well, we don't care about them. Well, those are your walking history. These are the ones that's going to lay out some of the history so that you know about how to tread and what's the do's and don'ts, but you may not understand the entirety of the game. And so your frustration makes you to hate them. But even in this situation, now, can we see people of that same persuasion do that to their own people? It varies. It can happen. You do see it sparingly, but not to the magnitude of being roughhouse, where the fact that the woman is saying, hey, you manhandling me. Now, I didn't hear anything as to what the allegation was. Was it true? Was it mistaken? Did they jump the gun? Was it mistaken? Is it false arrest? But they know they're asking for those officers to be relieved of it. But see, the thing is, those who are avid watchers of my show, when we go back and we talk about the Dred Scott situation or the case of Dred Scott, they go back to 1857. And remember when it said in the case that the white man is not bound by no law that pertains actually to black people. Let me say that one more again. In that Dred Scott case, when you go back and you read about it, you see that it talks about there's no law, no rule, no rights that a white man is bound and had to dealing with us. And yet they tell us over time that 13th, 14th Amendment fixed all this, civil rights fixed this, right? They tell you all these things that those things supposed to have fixed, but some things like say the same no matter what you think you change it, because the foundation of what all their holds, nobody has ever, well, they're not going to agree to touch it, and they're going to deny what I'm going to tell you why they don't touch that, right? I got a message right quick. Let me see who I got up in the house here. We got Sharon Washington in the house. How are you doing, my sister? I thought you quit on me. You understand? Don't be mad, sister. I told you going to figure out how to do that, but I'm glad to see you in the house. Sharon Washington in the house. Good to see you there, sister. Now, so with that being said, right? So here it is. You're costing them, the elderly. You don't have to roughhouse them. Why you have to, get so indignant, as they say? You getting indignant with somebody. And so would you do that? Or would you like that if that was your grandmama? If that was your mama? Your granddaddy, your daddy of being of age? Why is it like people can't make that let's say discernment to make the difference in that? Or is it just one glove fits all, regardless to age, same color, and so forth, right? So when we see this, and then when we talk about it, they say we're wrong or we're playing the race card. Well, I'm going to show you about this Civiliter Mortuus, again, we being the walking dead, and how it looks like everything is being attacking towards everything that they claim that we're supposed to have some kind of rights. You're going to find out that everything that glitter ain't gold, and everything that you thought ain't right. So, last week, they talked about the affirmative action when the Supreme Court did what it did, right? Now, those of you who are avid watchers of my show, remember, I'm the dog that barked long before the mug get up on the porch. So those who are avid watchers over here, you already was up on the game. You already knew the whole layout. You seen it all coming prior before when everybody all of a sudden now everybody was, oh, the affirmative action. But you already up on it. What's the name of this show? We Up Report. Let me say that one more again. What's the name of the show over here? We Up Report. See, that's what I do over here. That's why I'm the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. Been in the business for the go on 11 years on the 26th of this month and can't get 200 views. Last show got 145. I come back and took 3 off. Then it's stuck there, and that's only 5 days. You know what I'm saying? I said, oh no, they got up to a little bit too quick, so they held it up. But anyway, with that being said, let me show you about of that affirmative action part. Now, we're not in here just to reiterate, but I want to show you some of the things that have been said dealing with this affirmative action where I seen, maybe y'all seen this too. I had seen, did y'all see this? Did you see these two? I think his name is Will Cain and Stephen A. Smith got into a so-called, I guess you could say, debate about the topic. So just in case you didn't catch it, listen to this, part 1, and be right back.
To consider race in college admissions. Now, most Americans agree with last week's decision. A recent CBS News poll found that 70% of Americans oppose race being used as a factor in admissions. And even 60% of Democrats oppose race as a factor, according to a New York Times poll. But there was a backlash to the ruling. My old friend Stephen A. Smith had a lot to say about the decision.
Here's where I get ticked off. I get ticked off that white America gets to sit back and act like they're innocent in all of the things that have been transpiring to the point where it ignited their furor to such a degree that they felt the need to oppose such things. The iniquities that have taken place in this country against minority communities, who exacted that? Who displayed that? Who exercised those actions? Who were the instigators and perpetrators of all of that? Who was that exactly? Wasn't that white America? I think it was.
Stephen A. Smith, the host of the Stephen A. Smith Show and First Take on ESPN, joins us now. Stephen A., great to see you, man.
What's going on, buddy? How you doing, man?
You want me to just go right at that clip? Is that how we should do this? Should we just start right there?
Feel free.
Okay.
There's
no such thing.
Let's go. I'm here.
I know you are. The problem is, Stephen A., in truth, when it comes to justice, there is no such thing as black America and white America. There are only individuals.
Okay.
And so when you assign culpability to individuals of the past, to individuals of today, there's simply nothing to hold anyone accountable for. Why do I pay the price for the sins of the past and you reap the benefits in the case of the affirmative action? I'm not saying you had affirmative action, but you as a black man would reap the benefits of affirmative action for the sins committed on someone of the past. We are only, in the end, Stephen A., individuals.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I get where you're coming from, and I can understand how you would look at it that way. You have to respect the fact that I have a different cultural background, a different experience than you, and I might feel a bit differently about it. What I would tell you is this. There's so many people, and the people that have been supportive of the Supreme Court's latest ruling are of the mindset that blacks were getting an unfair advantage. What black people would contend to you is that it wasn't an unfair advantage. Remember, race was a consideration, one of many considerations that would be taken into the equation when you talk about college admissions, and I think ultimately diversity, equity, and inclusion is next, personally, when you think about some of the things that have been taking place in corporate America. But it wasn't that. It was an effort to sort of make an effort to even the playing scales to some degree because of the iniquities exacted against the African American community in this country. It wasn't about giving them an advantage. It was about highlighting the fact that they were discriminated, meaning we were discriminated against at that particular moment in time. And that's why the policy was instituted to begin with. So when folks are walking around acting as if there is a reason to celebrate, and I'm looking at folks that are feeling like somehow, some way, they've been shortchanged, my mentality is, wait a minute, the policies were implemented to begin with because the African American community was being shortchanged, and they were being denied the same privileges or the same opportunities that were accorded to white folks in America.
What I would
All right. We're back, right? I'm saying got some technical difficulties over here. Somebody in here fidgeting with something, but we're going to get it going anyway, right? So that was you seen Will Cain and you seen Stephen A. Smith having this topic, as you heard Stephen A. Smith in the video clip talking about how he was ticked off that white people got to act as innocent about how or why affirmative action started and how there was this collective opposition, like they were the ones being discriminated against, right? So what happened, they heard them and they send them down to the office. You know, back in the day when you was a kid, back when we did, when the intercom come on, can you send down Stephen A. Smith to the office? Ooh, right? That's what that was. Ooh, he got to go to the office. So they put his ass right on front of their TV and say, hey, can you keep that up there for me, sir? Can you put that up there for me? Put that up there for me, sir. Yeah, put that up there for me, yeah. I don't want to see that. Go ahead and put that part up there for me. Sorry for technical difficulties, y'all. All right, so he had to go in front of everybody, go in front of the principal. He got to lay out what was that? What you were talking about on that video or you did on your show? What was that about? Now they're talking about race in college admissions. You heard him go with the 70% of Americans oppose the use of factors as admission, right? Now, the poll of Americans, 70%. Now, again, we don't know what the true numbers are when it comes to polling, but we do know that they make that to represent, again, like what we'll talk about later on, is about 331,500,000 plus people in this land. And that 70 is supposed to represent 70% of that 331 million, right? But actually, they only poll so many people. But that's what it's supposed to represent. And so, accordingly, America is 70% against affirmative action. And we, as being Black Americans, can somewhat relate to that because we have not been the beneficiaries of things that's supposed to have been given. As I showed you in the beginning about Civiliter Mortuus, which is the Walking Dead, I'm going to show you as I lay out that everything that somebody claimed they gave to you, they never gave you nothing, and you always been around here with nothing from the get-go. But they don't want to admit that. Nobody never wants to really admit that. So, as you heard Will Smith, or not Will Smith, but Will Cain said, now check the words out that he said in there. He said, in truth, when it comes to justice, there's no such thing as Black Americans, white Americans. There are only individuals. Let me say that one more again. In truth, when it comes to justice, there is no such thing as Black American, white American. There are only individuals. Now, keep that in mind. Individuals is the new little sly-ass word to try to shy away from the fact of the totality and make it about individualism, okay? When you're talking about individuals, you're talking about being or single, right? A person could be more, they claim, promises one to another, but that's not what we're talking about. What the hell? What? Hold on. What the hell going on here? They're talking about some single. We know they're single. We're talking about individuals here. We're not talking about no single. And so, again, this word they want to use is making it singling out that when it comes to discrimination, it's an individual game. Do you believe that racism is an individual game? Some people believe that racism doesn't exist. When they say systemic racism, that means it's a team sport. When you go on to the census, do you not pick a team for which team you represent? So how does it become individualized? But you got to look at the key words that's being used when he's speaking. When he says justice, right? Remember he said, when in truth, when it comes to justice, well, justice means this. When we all or have ever had to go and deal with in the court system, it's normally an individual act. Is it right? Is that not right? You individually go into a courtroom. You can go on a what they call that when this slips my mind for a second, but somebody might know what I'm talking about. When more than one people, class action suit, that's it. When a class action suit happens, that is a whole bunch of people collectively, and it'll be one person's name where all of them will be supportive of that one. So it's still kind of individual, but you can be a class action, right? And so in the sense of what they're talking about affirmative action, and that how he says injustice. Now, justice represents that court. Justice is supposed to represent that symbol of a blind lady who on the scale cannot tell the difference, only going to weigh it according to what is being presented in just and true. A lot of people believe that. I'm not here to tell you whether to believe or not to believe that, but I'm just saying that is what that symbol represents, does it not? And so what he's implying to that justice is blind, and that there's no black and white, and that it's like a referee with a black and white shirt on. And many of us who know about sports know that even damn referees can be on some BS and many times as well. And so he goes on again. So the key word here is individual. Then he went on, he says, when assigned culpability of the past of an individual to an individual of the present, simply nothing to hold anyone accountable for. Okay, listen what he's saying. When you assign some culpability, right? Culpability, accountability for you really divvying up, recouping, paying the debt for, right? Of a past individual. Now see, the slick talk, past individuals. They want to make history what happened to Black Americans, the Tachas, Indigenous, Neji, Moors, all the umbrella terms that we all become as one biologically of the same family, regardless of what you call yourself. Some people they got sticks and they got sticklers for that. So if you should hear me, you upset with me, I'm calling we all the same. No matter what you call us, we're gonna be the same. Now, the thing is, individual in it. Making what happened as an individual game makes it solely about somebody particular, then it was like it was not no group game. Is it a group game to be legislative when you say Congress? Is it a group game when you say, well, colonization? Is that an individual game or is that a group game? So it's a group game. It's not an individual game, but they're trying to be slick by making it about individual, but you're going to recognize that they're talking about two different things while they're talking about one thing, right? He's saying, he's trying to talk, I'm going to show what he means when he's talking about this individual, but what Stephen A. Smith is talking about is something collective. But look at the slick talk. You're gonna catch it. So he goes on again, he says what? Simply nothing to hold anyone accountable for. See, now he's talking about the part of racial, but he's talking about individualized because they're talking about the affirmative action part. That a lot of people that are here talking about it really can't tell you actually what affirmative action, what was it? Was it law? Was it a policy? And was it throughout the country? Or was it only particular players did it? And when the Supreme Court had its decision against Harvard, against the University of North Carolina, was those individual cases? So did that send the bat signal to all the rest that if you get any other students that have come before us, they're going to get the same ones, so you might as well drop it all across the board? Let me say that one more again for those with the paper over the window class. Pick up when I'm laying down. Was the whole facade of the affirmative action, again, those who are avid watchers of my show, did I not lay down to you what affirmative action was? Did I not show you back in 1961 when John F. Kennedy made the executive order and then he got assassinated, then Lyndon B. Johnson came and picked up and made another executive order talking about affirmative action? And what was affirmative action really about? Jobs, applicants. What's this got to do with school? What did that have to do with school? You understand what I'm saying? What did that got to do with school? So what happens is, when something that was happening in the 60s, in the 70s, with the civil rights movement, schools want to say, well, you know what, based on all this fighting and riots that was going up, well, maybe what we're going to do is we're going to make a policy and open our doors so we can have some more blacks and stuff come in. Had nothing to do with affirmative action. But they're selling it because that's what they put attack. You get what I'm saying? The University of Harvard didn't represent every university in this country. The University of North Carolina didn't represent every college in the. It was these two individual cases. And that the Supreme Court has said that it no longer should be accepted. So that just said that these two here will be the preceding cases that anybody who come before, you already know, schools, you're going to lose because that's what this is. Right? That's what that was. That's really what that was when it really boiled down to. So now, this conversation with Will, Cain, and Stephen A. Smith, Stephen A. Smith is talking about the racial aspect of it. Will Cain is saying, but it was about individuals being discriminated against. Are you catching what I'm saying? Can you catch what I'm saying? Now, he says, the sins of the past, you, remember he said, you, Stephen A. Smith, you benefit, you being not you per se because you may didn't get it, but you as a black person benefit in the case of affirmative action. Why do I pay you as a black to reap the benefits of those individuals of the past? Again, individuals. See how he's commingling, he's twisting that. He's telling them, he's trying to sell to the audience who buying it that he's actually saying, yeah, why do we have to pay for the sins of the past about some individuals and what they did to you? And why should you benefit today and it discriminates against me? Yeah. So the key word you're going to keep hearing from them is individuals. Got a message here. Okay, I got Aboriginal knowledge in the house. Oh, yeah, okay, Aboriginal, he says, Aboriginal knowledge said RICO charges. Interesting. Interesting, right? Interesting. So you heard Stephen A. Smith go into the fact that he says that we got different cultures and backgrounds than yours. Now, Stephen A. Smith does not come from the lineage of we Black Americans, Italians, Indigenous, Niji, Moors. He is a black man that comes from the Caribbean. I think Virgin Islands or St. Croix, something like that. But as a black person on TV talking, he was representing that. And he did make sure, as you will hear as we go on, he's making that distinction. But talking to Will Cain, he's making that saying that, well, we from different cultural backgrounds than yours. Right? White acting like blacks were getting some advantage over them from this race would be knowing that this would be a consideration towards admissions as an effort to even the playing field. Right? Isn't that what that was supposed to be doing? Wasn't affirmative action in that way supposed to be trying to make it some evening of what had been done to Black Americans in this country? But I'm going to show you, like I showed you last week, for those who didn't catch it, I'm going to show you that everything that they give you, look at what's doing to undermine it so that they never give you nothing, and just remember the word Civiliter Mortuus. Right? Civiliter Mortuus, meaning the walking dead. So then he said the inequities put on Black Americans is why the policies were put in the first place. Right? The inequities that were put on Black people. Now see, or Black Americans, that's specific, right? When you say Black Americans, that's specific, right? That particular group. But when you make something with a broad general stroke and you allow everybody to get in and it never went to the right beneficiaries, of course it was going to cause a damn problem. And of course, everybody else was going to come in and use it so they could benefit. No wonder they say, no, this is the greatest country in the world. You could come here, they put no stock, no blood, no sweat, no tears, and you could come over here and reap all the benefits that would naturally go to this group, but you're going to be the buffer group to keep it from getting them, and you come here, and then y'all have the mitigated goal, stand in our damn face and tell us that you better than us, that you done built some shit, and that you entitled to some shit. But a lot of people don't want us to say this to use, and those of you who are, again, I don't hate people from other lands. I don't hate because you're not Black American. But the truth must be told. The problem is the truth don't want to be told because it spoils the game. But because of what done happened, or you gonna figure it out. See, you hurt yourself. Those who thought they was using this to think they were gonna undermine us, you're gonna find out all you did is grandfather the game back to originally where it was going to in the first damn place. Because when he threw the white woman in there, he already had tainted that game. How does the white woman who's white like him get in the line of affirmative action like she ain't white? She ain't part of the whole system. All trick bags. All trick bags, right? So he said people are happy just if they were somehow shortchanged when the affirmative action was based on what happened to Black Americans, right? You saying people was happy and, oh yeah, we're glad that affirmative action is over. Right. Now that you done cut that leg off, right? Now you done cut that leg off, you're going to start to feel the realness of what Black folks been always saying, and you didn't have a problem stepping in front of when they hear the child bell ringing. You come with running with your plate first. Let me get mine first. Now there won't be no child bell. What's going to happen now? Now let me show you something that was said in there. Let me see the next part that was said. I listened to this next part that this conversation these people had. Listen, let's be right back.
Say to that is, you do not solve past discrimination by present or future discrimination. And there was certainly injustices under the banner of affirmative action inflicted upon individuals, whether or not they be white or Asian American. In Harvard, in the situation at Harvard, an African-American student in the top 50% of his academic class, Stephen A., had just as good a chance as an Asian student or a white student in the top 10% of their class. Is that just discrimination?
No. And by the way, if you know, and I'm sure you did listen to my podcast, and I appreciate you doing so. If you recall, I did not say, you know what? I did not say that it wasn't discrimination. I acknowledged the fact you didn't hear me speak against, you know, anyone from the Asian community that had brought that case to the justices. I understood where they were coming from. My argument was against folks in white America that was saying, even the, you know, presidential candidate Donald Trump talking about now we get back to a merit, you know, a society based on merit, ignoring what brought affirmative action policies into play to begin with. We have people in white America acting as if they don't know how it came about. Okay. So if somebody from the Asian community or the Latino community, they had an issue and they felt that they were denied an opportunity, that's a different argument than white America coming up and saying, we don't feel that we've been treated fairly in all of this. When the unfairness was exacted by white folks in America.
Well, that's where you and I go full circle and get a little bit stuck in the mud, because I will refer to talking about individuals. Individuals, whether or not they be white or Asian, can be the victims of injustice and discrimination. But I do want to ask you a sincere question. In the 1970s, when the program of affirmative action was implemented, Stephen A., at that time, the Supreme Court of the United States said there would be a day when it would no longer be required. When they re-upped it in 2003, they anticipated another 25 years of affirmative action. Well, we came just short of that. It's been 21 years since that decision was made at the Supreme Court. The question is, even if you're making up for past sins, Stephen A., when does it come to an end? When do we stop discriminating on the basis of race?
Right, I think I got a message up there. I'll get to that message in 1 second there. Let's see who that is up there. We got to make sure they get the, who we got that up there. Okay, I got who in the house? Who's that in there? Aboriginal said, okay. Appreciate that so much, Aboriginal knowledge. Thank you for that. I ain't checked it yet, but thanks a lot. Now, so we got Stephen A. Smith, Will Cain. And the battle was about whether Asians or whites somehow have been discriminated when it comes to affirmative action. That's Will Cain's position. He's speaking on behalf of particular white folks, but really with Asians being the Pinocchio in this situation, being used. And now you can see a lot on these videos, they're trying to get out of it by trying to say we were being used. Oh, no. Sometimes, see, when you know, everybody that comes to this country, this is the thing about being Black American. We was here before, we would be here from the beginning. We seen everybody come. We see how everybody position themselves, right? We see how y'all get down is. Even though you be amongst us, kick it with us, learn, do our culture. But then when it's kind of like having a child. Those of us who are Black, we know this. It's like having a child and teaching your child. You don't teach your child to hate nobody. But then one day they come home and they got a friend of another persuasion. And they all tied up in that. And you say, okay, you say that, you let it be what it be. But you have to have that conversation. You know, as you get older, you going to go left and they going to go right. Let me say that one more again for those who slow with the paper over the window. That's right. We up report, Mr. Blows Your Mind, the whiteologist. You have kids, and when they're growing up and they have people of other persuasions outside of themselves, we don't teach our children to hate nobody. But there's going to come that conversation where you have to have with them and say, you know what? As you get older and y'all get older, you going to go left and they going to go right. What do you mean by that, Mr. Blow Your Mind? See, when you're young and they trying to get out here and try to get acclimated because they come from a background that is, let's say, a generation removed or just getting here. So you help them to learn to acclimate in. So they use your friendship so they can learn homie means friend. Oh, homie means friend. You get what I'm saying? Homie means friend. You teach them all the lingo, the lit, they get to hear the music, they learn your culture, then all of a sudden now they become some doppelganger, right? They imitate and they can be you. But then when it's time for them to start moving to be themselves and the people who they're supposed to be, they start going right. Now they took everything they didn't got from you and they going right to the people and the places of them, what they doing, and they building their own thing, and you were just something that they was going through, passing through in life. That's what happened. And so what done happened in this country is many of them now done came here, done got bold with it, think they know what it is to be us, they know how to act like we act, and then they sit up in front and tell us in our face, in our land, in our country that I'm blacker than you. I made hip hop. You get what I'm saying? So that's how this is, right? That's how this is, right? So anyway, so Will Cain says, you don't solve past discrimination with present or future discrimination. See, that's a kickstand move. See, we can't make up for you that's gonna end up discriminating against us. So it's wrong. Two wrongs don't make it right, but it was all right when you was doing this shit to us. When the law nowhere, when nobody really going out their way to stop it, and it went for centuries and centuries, according to what you say in that history book, right? So what I'm saying is, you don't solve past communication or discrimination with present or future discrimination. Well, how do you cure it then? What would be the cure then? If you're going to cure anything, cure it. When you don't do nothing, then you try to make these little side things that's going to somehow make amends for it and then come back and renege it. But I'm going to show you how they renege that. Just stay tuned. Stay tuned. And if you're new over here, subscribe, hit that like button, share, all that good stuff. And just in case somebody here want to do what my brother Aboriginal did. I got a couple more messages. I got Mr. Spencer 2620 says that's a great analogy about the kids. Real talk, because those of us who done had children, this is what we got to do. This ain't us being racial. And anybody who's in here who's from another people, you know damn well it's the truth. See, the problem is you ain't gonna never have nobody talk to y'all real. Everybody else is protecting their money and protecting their channel, and I get it. But I've been in the game for 11 years and can't get 100 views, and you got to ask yourself, what is that black man over here talking about that they won't let him be heard? Oh man, that dude embarrassing himself. How you still doing this? No, you ain't called on to it yet. You still slow yet. You still don't get it that when somebody saying something that don't be heard, they don't get viewed. Those who get viewed must be doing something that the system say, yeah, go ahead, go that direction. But this ain't about that. Those who hear what I'm talking about, you was made to hear what I'm talking about. But anyway, I got Sharon T said T. And Sharon Washington says they continue to do that. That's our people fault because their plan is always to replace us. 100 is always, right? So we just got to be honest. Everybody saying being honest with us. They playing us. They know damn well they use you for whatever they can use you for. And then when it's time to be them and their people, they know how to slide off and go into their own. This ain't about hating. Y'all just got to be honest about it. And now, y'all, it's going to really come to fruition because that move that had been done with this affirmative action, you're going to start to know what we're really talking about now. When they say hold your own nuts, oh, you about to hold your own nuts. You about to find that you thought you was getting away from where you ran. Oh, the country got a little bit more whiter last week. Let me say that one more again. The country got a little bit more whiter. And boy, if you was a fly on the wall on that 4th of July, the shit they was celebrating and hauling, you gonna find out though what is they? Give me some more. Give me some more. They want more. They want it whiter. So you go ahead and you play the game with them. You're gonna reap the benefits of that. See, we already know what it is. You know what I'm saying? We already know what it is. Y'all gonna figure it out. So anyway, so again, you can't solve the past discrimination with present discrimination, he says, and says there was certainly discrimination on the banner of affirmative action inflicted upon whites and Asian individuals. See, there were certainly discrimination on the banner of affirmative action inflicted upon whites and Asians. See, use the Asians so that the white person who couldn't fight it because of, again, the inheritance that white people laid, as he said, individuals. But we know racism is not an individual game. Racism is a sports game, a team game. It's like watching sports, quarterback, lineman, running back, wide receivers, referee. It's an organized game. There's no individual. We're no individual doing no whole thing for hundreds and hundreds of years. No, this is a team game. Whether you play, say per se, but you have to show the long history of what you did as a people, as a group, as an individual, what your family didn't do. That's the only thing that individual gonna help you is you're gonna be able to show your paperwork and say, my family didn't do none of that. That's the only way you're gonna be able to do that. But otherwise, collectively, this is inheritable. Because if we go in the background of your paperwork and see how long you've been checking that white box as a census, tells the whole story that you was down for it. And so it's funny how some people want to get the refuge, they want to get saved, they want to come on here and say, I came for a better life, and then they come check the damn box, but now when it's time to pay up, because you now incorporating everything that they done, you take on, it's like riding in the car when your homies done robbed somebody and you don't know. But you decide to get it. Hey man, come on, you want to ride with us? Come on, get on in there. You riding in the car. Hey man, we get this car from and everything. Nah, don't worry about all that, man. We doing what we doing. Then 5-0 come. Woo, right? Then when they get pulled up, get in the car. Or the police, I didn't know nothing about it. The police gonna be you getting right in the cuffs. You getting right in the car. You get in charge, and you're gonna go through the whole process, right? Why they feel the need that they think they can get out and talk about time like, oh, this is about individuals. This ain't got nothing to do. This is a team game. This was a team game. So here he goes with his way, trying to show some kind of like, look, it's still, affirmative action, you don't need it because it's still equal even without it. Now listen to what he said. Listen to this. He says African Americans who were 50% of his class had a good enough chance as a white Asian in 10% of their class. Is that just discrimination? Wait a minute. Did you see how he did that? Let me say that again for those who might be slow in the back. He said African Americans who was 50% of his class had a good enough chance as a white or Asian in 10% of their class. Is that just discrimination? So the 50% nigger versus the 10%, top 10% white is still equivalent to the 10%. Why he put it in reverse? Why he say the top 10% of black people would be just as equivalent to those of 50% who are Asian and whites? See how much see the glass ceiling look, he still got a good enough chance. He's 50% playing in the same game in the same round with those who are 10% in the 10%, he in the 50%. He still got a good chance. He still got a good chance. You know what I'm saying? That was it. He still got a good chance. Really? Really? He still got a good chance. All right. Okay, so they talk about how Donald Trump talk about meritocracy society. Everybody, that's another word they use, a meritocracy. Meritocracy. Let me tell y'all something. Let me tell you something. Nobody's gonna tell you something. Come on. Let me tell you something. If meritocracy is what we want, then who? Then black Americans. Then we know this our country, right? If you want to talk about meritocracy on your merit, if you want to say that, use that word. Who meritorious than we? Who got more merit than we do? None of you. Most of you. Wait a minute. You know what y'all knew about you? Oh, this is an immigrant nation. We the only ones in here ain't an immigrant. We not an immigrant. So that don't apply to us. So that means that leave us where, y'all? Civiliter Mortuus. We don't have no rights in this place. This place has been considered a nation of immigrants. So that leaves us as stateless people. People that have no rights. We just here. You know what I'm saying? All right, I got another message here. Shane Washington says, their ultimate goal is to cause us to get too angry, to rise up, to bring about a race war, hence the taking away of everything from our people that our people protest and fought for. Exactly. Chipping away. Chipping away at it. And y'all came in here thinking that y'all thought this was the Wizard of Oz, the golden brick road to the Wizard of Oz? Well, you're gonna find it with fool's gold. One gold all along. All he did is, again, as I used the analogy in the Bible called Nebuchadnezzar. Take all the choices, people from around the world, make you a spring, sprocket, cog in his machine to help him to do what? What's worse is he take our people, we black Americans, attaching this indigenous, Nietzsche, all the above umbrella term that I still call black Americans. He take the choices from amongst us, give you a scholarship, use your talent to do what? Make you an individual, and then you help us to get rid of the group. Do I need to say that again? Take your talent to help him to get rid of your group. All right. So meritocracy, everybody believe, because see, there's something deep-seated in many people. When they look at black people, y'all really think we dumb. That's like a proverbial thing amongst other people outside, and even those who are considered black that come from other nations, y'all think y'all smarter than us too. And we looking at y'all like, nigga, the game come from us. Everything in this motherfucker is our shit. The only thing we don't do is run the motherfucking government. We don't run all the institutions of life. That's the only thing we don't run. The thing that you see that they say we can't do is the things we've been excluded from. Anything that we are in, we dominate. Do I need to say that one more again? Everything we are allowed to be in, we gonna dominate. Everything you see is keeping us out from, so we can't dominate. Y'all know what it is, but y'all like telling yourself, because y'all think because you ran from where you left from, you got away from that story, and you get to come here with a new identity. It's like what they call it when you witness protection. You get to get they're gonna give you a new identity, new name, new life, and you come over here, you was Pedro there, now you come over here, you're named Ricky. And now Ricky got a new whole star, got a job, can take care of his family. But he don't know. All he is a wall like in 300. You're just the damn wall to protect and take all the blunts and the things that will come, and he's seasoning your ass up. As Sharon Washington says, when the shit break, he gonna have you going out there because he got you thinking that you are protecting something that you never had in the first damn place. You actually think that somehow you entitled here. And y'all act like y'all forgot about the people who it really was built on. So everybody run in front of the damn line, grabbing shit, and then you done got so bold and got caught up in it that you took away something that was helping you. Now you're going to find out what it's really all about. That's what you're going to do. That's what you're going to do. So he talks about how ignoring what Stephen A. Smith said, ignoring what brought affirmative action in the first place, acting like they don't know. Everybody act like they got amnesia when it comes to black people and their history. You got amnesia. Oh, you know what they do recollect? That, oh, y'all the ones that kill each other. You're the one that shoot each other. You're the one that go to jail. You're the one that sell drugs. So you need that to make how y'all been doing, right? Think about this. People must believe that black people are the worst of everything that is being purported by news and propaganda because it makes them feel like they didn't really steal any damn thing. They try to use, oh, we came over here for a better life. What's wrong with the life in the country that you should fight for and build it up? That's never part of the mindset. It's go somewhere else because the opportunity. I heard somebody earlier today. I'm going to get to those messages in 1 second, y'all. I heard somebody as I came on earlier today say that they could be a doctor in Africa, but they would rather come here and be a doctor in America because they get more money. So I said, okay, to the average ear, that sounds good. That sounds right. But think about it. So a doctor would be a profession that is above many, right? So in Africa, a doctor still would make more money than probably everybody else, correct? Right? If we look at the way we look here, a doctor in Africa will still make more money than the average person, which means you still gonna be better off even if you stay in your country. Nah. That ain't what it is. You want to come here for a reason. You want to be immersed in this for something else. Don't talk about no damn money. It's something else. You know what I'm saying? Let me get some of these messages I got up in here. Hold on 1 second. I got Sharon Washington. Exactly. I don't know what I made you laugh about. 100. Okay, maybe. Yeah, I appreciate you. Okay. All right. So you get what I'm saying? So they think that coming here and making more money is what the game about. It's about fixing, like black Americans in this country. If you know our history and see what we've gone through and what we try to do, just imagine if y'all ain't here, what we do. Again, I'm not here to get on you or to say you shouldn't be here or you didn't have a reason to come here. Think about it from this perspective. If y'all wasn't here, what would black Americans' position be when you had to deal with us? Think about it. You're being used so they don't have to deal with us. You were used so you didn't have to deal with us. And I'm going to show you. Just stay tuned. I'm going to show you. Because I'm like, oh, this what the fuck are you talking about? I'm going to show you. But let me go get the last part, what he said here, and then we're going to end this one here. Listen what he said on this third part. Listen to this. Check this out.
When people in positions of power have proven that they're exercising fairness, come hella high water. It's really, really that simple. I'm so glad that you asked that question.
But that's
because
impossible
it is that
to define.
There's no, again, when you're looking at numbers, for example, why did Yale in the 70s sit up there and say, we want 10% of our student populace to be made up of minorities? You know why? Because they knew without those rules, those laws in place, they didn't anticipate that would be allowed. In today's corporate America, you still have folks. You have black folks being paid less than white folks. You have black women being paid paid less than white women. You have white women obviously deserving a lot of opportunities that they obviously richly deserve. They're getting paid less than white men. Everywhere you turn, there's a level of unfairness that's being exercised.
But you're
and so because of
ascribing
that,
all
the only
those
thing that changes that
differences.
is the law as opposed to somebody's conscience.
But you're ascribing all those differences to race when there's so many different contributing factors into why corporate America may look a certain way. You and I both love sports. We both debated in sports. I could play turnabout as fair play and go, why aren't there more white NBA players? That must be discrimination. But we both know the answer is because merit has dictated who's in the NBA. And whatever's happening in society, and I would never, Stephen A., I would never sit here and say every decision made is purely based upon merit. But we aspire to that. We aspire to that.
Right.
And I think that the Supreme Court's decision has been a big leap forward in getting to where we judge things based upon merit.
Well, you would say that, and I would say to you that the power structure in the United States of America is still predominantly white. And so as a result, what white America is asking you to do is ultimately to trust that your heart is going to be in the right place. And there are a plethora of people throughout minority communities in this country who would challenge that and would say, no, we don't necessarily believe that to be the case, which is why we need the laws to help us. When you bring up sports, and you and I have argued back and forth as friends and brothers, talking about the world of sports and some of the iniquities that have taken place, you can bring up the NBA, for example. I can point to something called the meritocracy because I see their performance on the court just as much as you do. There isn't some curtain, there isn't some proverbial glass ceiling. We're literally witnessing it. But when we look at the NFL, for example, the Rooney Rule was still in existence. This is the #1 professional sports league in this country. Why is the Rooney Rule still in existence? Because we've seen one opportunity after another where capable, qualified black individuals were bypassed because of the system that was in place, primarily run by white individuals who asked us to trust them, but then proved they weren't worthy of the trust that they requested. And so those are the kind of challenges we have to deal with as a country, and there's just no way around that. The only way we can make it better is people like yourself and myself talking about it honestly and openly.
I agree. And I will say that I think that the mistake that we often make, and where you and I find our debate, is whether or not we ascribe all those differences to the big factor being race. Listen, next time we're together, I want to have a conversation with you about Clarence Thomas. He's one of the most amazing black men in the history of the United States of America, and I do not feel like you're giving him sufficient credit to anyone. But we'll get there. We don't have to do it right now. Before we go, let's stay.
We back, right? All right, so we back, right? All right, so again, okay, so whites acting like they've been treated unfairly when the unfairly was perpetuated by white folks. See, that's the thing nobody wants to admit. Nobody wants to admit from the side of white folks, even though you're born today, but the game didn't start from the day you was born. The game been started since, let's say, when you're talking about the United States as a country, 1787, 1789, correct? So that's when the United States began. So if you come from the long lineage of that and you've been here benefiting from that, you are part of that from the beginning. And if you came from somewhere else, has several generations, and your family has been benefiting from it, you gain from that too. Whatever you got here, gain. So you're not to be excluded in that conversation or part of it as a group collectively. When you're right, when you talk, when you send somebody, when you vote for somebody to be representing you in your district and county, that person represents all of you. Whether your man won or not, he represents you. And if we look at it from a legislative or from congressional and legislatively, the things that have been done to Black Americans, again, if we had Maury Povich had to come out and do a DNA test of the baby, that baby gonna be white. Let me say that one more again. If we go get Maury Povich and hey Maury, who's the baby? Who the father of this baby? When he does that test, that baby gonna come back white. Now, the thing is, everybody want to make it individual, and everybody got another news story say, well, they had nothing to do with it, and they don't feel like they should have to pay for nothing. but what about all the benefits you done got? If you had to stay and couldn't leave and had nowhere to go, you'll be in the same condition that the people that they say that happened to them. That's who we are. For every land that y'all all came from, you left those who couldn't get away in your country, right? You left them. You got away. So what happens when all of those who run come to a place and the people who've been there, who've been getting abused by that system before you got there, and you find out that's them? Why do y'all complain about not doing right by them? Because without them, you couldn't have really had nowhere for your ass to run. But everybody seems to be very absent-minded when it comes to that. Because why? A lot of y'all, even though you don't come naturally from here, but a lot of y'all hold that old black hate sentiment as well, even from other nations y'all come from. Every nation around this globe got some kind of black-white dynamic. But everybody come here like, oh no, we not like that. Really? Go to all the indigenous people of that landmass. Most of them don't even look indigenous because the way that they sell the indigenous today, the indigenous only look like a light-skinned, light brown person. An indigenous person is never dark-skinned. You ever notice that? That an indigenous person is never dark-skinned. And yet y'all say the first people on the damn planet was the melanated people, but yet no indigenous people to this day, when you go around, are dark-skinned. When they say African, well, they give you that one. They get the Australians, but everything else ain't melanoid. No. They'll tell you this Native American mug, high, less melanin looking, is an indigenous person. How'd you get that? How'd you look like that? How did that become? That's some kind of infusion somewhere. But no, we ain't smart like that, right? Anyway, I got a message here. We got Mr. Smith 0620. What is it about us that this government hates? They don't want us to have shit. That's a question they can answer. And see, the thing is, you know what, Mr. Spence? That word you use, government, is the boogeyman. Who is the government? You see, that's the same thing when they say individual. Who is the government? Is it the government for the people, by the people who you select and go up there? So again, Maury Povich is going to do the blood test, the DNA test, and according to from 1789 to 2023, what would that baby test say? Who've been the most legislative people the government has been, and we'll find out who is the baby, who is the father of that baby. See, nobody wants to do with that because what they're going to do, a couple individuals, and because you got a Barack Obama here, and you got a what's the name from Selma, you get people like that. You get the couple in the Maxine Waters, and that represents a whole bunch of people. You got a whole bunch. For one black person is like equivalent to 1,000. How many y'all done had? You can't even count them. But today, if you go in there and you study who all up in there, you know what you're gonna find out that you don't see no other land, and that's why this country feels a little strange to many of us today, don't it? It don't feel the same. It's got a foreign feel to it, don't it not? Because if you go in there and do that DNA test, it's gonna be a little bit more foreign than it's just gonna be white. And that's how you get undermined. That's how all the laws is being switched and changed. That's what's happening. But you know, the government is the boogeyman. Sharon Washington said again, replacing the original peoples. But they say the original peoples, the people that say the Native people, when again, if you did the show or watch the show, I showed you what a Native American is. Native American is nothing but an old boys club, exclusive club that ain't about DNA. It's about was you on the list when the original mothers set it up, and now you kin to them. That's the only blood we looking at. Anything else, we're not looking at it. Remember, the white dude told you that the Native Americans had Mongolian blood. So then that means anybody with Mongolian should be able to get in and say they part of it. Say, no, we're not talking about that. We're talking about on the list. Only if you get on the list. Remember the house song? DJ, I'm on the guest list. There is no guest list tonight. Right? So if you don't get on the guest list, you don't get in. Right? So Aboriginal knowledge says Will came wrong because they wouldn't let black play in sports at first. Jackie Robinson had to break it. True. And why did they get Jackie Robinson? Why did they get any black players? Because they wanted to win. Because they wanted to win. You understand? Everybody knows if you want to win, go get the black one. But when it comes to things, when it comes to our mind, and they think that we don't have the capability. They actually really believe a lot of the BS that they people perpetuate and tell them. And so again, they have to keep victimizing us and keep putting us in them bad lights and taking the bad apples and things from us and highlight that as if they don't have them. They don't have those what they call ruffians and thugs. They don't have them, but we the only ones got them. See, that's how you know you got to slant the damn game, because you fear those who play basketball. I ain't never worried about a double team. They the one worried about me. You get what I'm saying? I ain't never worried about a double team, triple team. You worried about me. You get what I'm saying? So that's how it goes. They worried about you. You don't worry about them. But when you're smart enough, you know how to play against that. Shit, my man over here on the court, on the arc, boom, hit that three. Oh, he ain't got enough. This ain't enough. I got him one. See, that's dominance. See, when you dominate, you don't worry. When you weak, you worry. Huh? So they kind of answer why you don't get shit. Because I know if I let you get in a position where I can't control your ass, you going to get bigger. Matter of fact, Shan Washington, what it say in the Bible, then it say, let us go down there and stop them before they build the heaven. And they want you to think that there was the Most High saying that. Why the Most High going to say, let us go down? He ain't got to go down. We go down to do what? So who was that? Come on, let us go down there and stop them before they build the heaven. That's what they do. They got to stop you from building before you get to heaven. Because if they don't, you won't need them. Everybody know you come here to get something so you can take from us, so you can patent it, steal it for your own, as if y'all made it originally. Y'all all do it. Because if not, you wouldn't have to be here. We didn't go to you. What did Malcolm say? Plymouth, I didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on me. Matter of fact, the land of fugitiveness, that's what happened to us. The land of fugitiveness landed on us. Everybody that running from everywhere else came in where we was. And now y'all in here trying to get rid of us so that y'all can all divide it up and say, well, we made hip hop. This one here said we made cool. This one, what we made, we made the slang. Huh? It's like the pig rooting in the truth. They done cut up everything up, trying to figure a way so that we can't discern what the hell is ours. Anyway, don't pay no attention to me. Shan Washington says, yes, they wanted to win and make money. Yes, we know who they were, who said that in the Bible. Exactly, right? So with that being said, let me go finish this part up on here, right? So you see what Stephen A. Smith said, when people in positions of power have proven they can exercise fair, he said when they can do fairness, hell or come high water. Those in a position of power, right? If they wanted to make this game stop, as he said, well, when is this going to stop? When those in positions of power. And so they want to make you believe that the people in power don't play the game of racism. Well, where else does the puppet master control the puppet? Must be from above. It can't be from under him. Anyway. So Stephen A. Smith talks about how why did in 1970s, they wanted to implement 10% of the student body towards diverse culture and minorities. If that wasn't what they were doing to try to make the amends for black people, why did they do that in the 70s? So you have to ask yourself, without those policies, and that's all it was, certain universities implemented policies. It was not law. That's why they went back and they rescinded it and used the case of Harvard and used the case of North Carolina to make it appear as if the Supreme Court is doing something that really was nothing but a policy. And that goes back to the fact that they never gave us nothing. Never gave us nothing. So his last attempt, his old attempt that white people, well, if it's not discrimination, then well, how come there's not enough white guys playing in the NBA? We know why, because you guys are better than us. But why is only sports be better than you at? Why y'all only contribute? Our greatness is only in sports and singing and dancing. Huh? You only attribute that. Y'all actually believe that because some of them can't discern that even if I took an ACT test or SAT test or MCAT test and so forth, who created the test? Let me say something. Who created the test? Can people who create the test under the tutelage of the universities that teach still teach it? It's like saying, is it still Eurocentric? Is it still Eurocentric bias, even though the test is supposed to be, let's say, multi-ethnic? Is it still culturally biased to a group because the way that it is created still gives an advantage to that who makes it from the way they see it, from the culture from they come from? Isn't that what everybody here does? Everything is under the tutelage and mindset of that who controls this. Don't you have to be, what would you say? Oh, and code switching. What does that mean? Oh, when I'm at work, I can't talk like I do at home. When I'm at work, I got to talk the way that is considered professional, which is what is acceptable. You can't come in here with your hair like that. You got to come in here like that. So that means it is under the culture, Eurocentric cultural of those people, and you just fitting in. So that's the same thing when they make them tests. And so what happens is, so the agent said he done found a niche. He said, I'll take the motherfucker 500 times and keep getting a better score. And then when I get perfect, look, you got to take me. I got a perfect score. But that's all the fuck you do is take tests. That's all the fuck you do is take a damn test. What else you got for me? You can answer some game. Well, shit. If you didn't have as much talent as this other group did, where they could go outside, dribble basketball, dance, skip rope, and all this other stuff, they might be just sitting in the house and just reading books too, because they can't do nothing else. But when you got other options, that may be the last option unless you're being forced more times than other to always perpetuate that. You get what I'm saying? Got some messages in here. Oh no. All right, so Shay said, because they are nothing. They control all components of the test, even the results. The game is rigged. Exactly. The game is always rigged, right? But we can't say it's rigged. We have to say it's fair seeming. As he said, a 50% African American versus a 10%, top 10% has a good enough chance. Damn, a 50%? He 50%. You couldn't make he couldn't break 50. You can't have black people in the top 10, top 5. No? Let me tell you a story one time. I remember I did this course. And you had to pass this course so that you can get this certification. And in it, the instructor's husband was, that day, he was in there trying to be cool, talking with me and another white cat. So we had talking with him. They got into race. He said, slaves were much happier when they were slaves. And I looked at him, I said, oh, you talking about Magnolia's myth? I said, I don't agree with that. Oh, I couldn't pass the test for the next 4 tries. I was like, I know goddamn well, I know the test. I couldn't pass the test. He made me take that shit 5 times, and then all of a sudden, I passed. I'm like, I know goddamn well I know this shit. But he was fucking with me psychologically because what I told his ass. Kind of shit they do. That kind of shit they do. Ain't that right? Ain't that right, y'all? All right. But anyway, enough of that shit, right? So let's go on to it, right? So with that being said, right? So not enough NBA players make it because why? the merit of basketball is about who's the best. When somebody got a job, now let me get to this point. Have you ever worked somewhere you knew you was better than the motherfucker that was your boss? Have you ever worked somewhere you knew you was better than your boss? How long did it take you to get your ass out of there? When he felt threatened by you, or she felt threatened by you, or you didn't do their work for them no more. See, meritocracy sounds great as a word, but when it comes to application, a lot of times some people got jobs because of nepotism. Some people got the damn job because as somebody's son or daughter and so forth. Not necessarily be qualified. And sometimes the people the most qualified don't get the job. So meritocracy is an illusion too. It's going to be based on who has the position to pick who. So got a couple messages here, right? Get a couple messages here. Okay, Shan laughing at me, and yes. All right. So with that being said, so there's no way to discern on meritocracy who really is qualified. Now that you done spoiled the game and got that out the way, and they say affirmative action, you're going to see a lot of people losing their jobs. It's something that's going on in that ESPN. Also, all the black ones getting fired, right? Oh, we don't need to quote the niggas now because it's going to be meritocracy, and all the better ones were white than you or everything else but you. That's what y'all opened the can of worms to. You grandfather it back. But pay attention, right? So let's go on from here, right? So if let me show, okay, so Will Cain and those who think like Will Cain, who believe that, well, things like affirmative action was discriminated against whites and Asians made because of discrimination, and that people who discriminate were individuals. Okay, if I get a president to say something about what then took place to this particular people, would it matter? Well, listen to this and be right back.
Hold the same country that sent man to the moon as being the same country of Jim Crow. You don't make peace with that, obviously, but how do you sort of hold that being the same America?
I think that it is partly because we never went through a true reckoning. And so we just buried one huge part of our experience and our citizenry in our minds.
Now, you mentioned that a reckoning hadn't taken place. So here we sit today where it feels like a reckoning is being called for. You know, is the country ready to deconstruct its founding myths, its mythic stories, its mythic history, or is it prepared to consider reparations? Do you think we're at that place right now?
So if you ask me theoretically, well,
why don't you say, I'm not a black president, I'm biracial?
Well, you know, when I was young and going through the identity crises that any teenager goes through, if the world saw me as African American, then that wasn't something that I needed to run away from. That's something that I could go ahead and embrace. And the interesting thing about the African American experience in this country is that we are sort of a mongrel people. I mean, we're all kind of mixed up. That's actually true for white America as well, but we just know more about it. And if we're treating each other right, then I can be African American, I can be multiracial, I can be, you name it. Are reparations justified? The answer is yes. There's not much question, right? That the wealth of this country, the power of this country, was built in significant part, not exclusively, maybe not even the majority of it, but a large portion of it was built on the backs of slaves. The wealth of this country, the power of this country, was built in significant part, not exclusively, maybe not even the majority of it, but a large portion of it was built on the backs of slaves. The wealth of this country, the power of this country, was built in significant part, not exclusively, maybe not even the majority of it, but a large portion of it was built on the backs of slaves.
The White House, Mike.
They built the house I stayed in for a while. What is also true is that even after the end of formal slavery and the continuation of Jim Crow, the systematic oppression and discrimination of Black Americans resulted in Black families not being able to build up wealth, not being able to compete. And that has generational effects. So if you're thinking of what's just, you would look back and you would say the descendants of those who suffered those kinds of terrible, cruel, often arbitrary injustices deserve some sort of redress, some sort of compensation, a recognition. Are reparations justified? The answer is yes. There's not much question.
Ain't we back? We back? Yeah, we back. All right. So that was Bruce Springsteen, called The Boss, right? And then there's Barack Hussein Obama, right? Ex-president, right? Anyway. So anyway, as you heard in that conversation between those two, Bruce Springsteen started by saying, well, the same country who sent man to the moon, same country who had Jim Crow. Right? How's that possible? Now, those who were seeing the show when I did Charlie Smith, remember Charlie Smith, the oldest man that was ever recorded in the United States, 137 years old? Remember they had him out there, did the interview when he was out there as 100 and I think he was 130, he was 131 at the time, right? When they were talking about the moon. And asked him live about what he thought about them going to the moon. And he told them, they ain't go to the damn moon. You can't go to the moon. Nothing gonna get there. I mean, how you gonna get back? How you gonna get there and how you gonna get back, right? So, they was like, okay, well, wait a minute. Did he just get on there and he say that? So what did they do? They discredited him, made him to be like he was the oldest man, that somehow they went and found a record about a first marriage he had and said that he lied on there, or what it probably was is because he had been so old, the woman he dated, he turned his age down a little because he was so much older. I think he was like maybe 30, some almost 40 years old. And I think the woman was like maybe 24. So he made himself to be 37. So what they did is they say he lied and they subtracted. They say he won 137 based on that. But the point I'm making there is he made that statement. And so look how they penalized them for that, right? So Bruce Springsteen is saying, look, with that kind of supposedly technological advance and being able to do that and the wonderment of that, and it's a greatness supposedly of this country, but this is the same country that had Jim Crow. I don't know why he used Jim Crow, right? I mean, it's still evil. And the thing is with Jim Crow, was it all over or was it just in certain parts? Right? But that's another topic for another time. So he's trying to say, well, how is that possible? That we can have these two different dichotomies of things and call this to be a great nation. So Obama says that, well, they never wanted to a true reckoning. They never wanted to really deal with this, and we never really had a true reckoning. But what they did is they buried it in our minds. Well, yeah, in your minds is buried that what happened for us to get over it. But the people who are the byproducts and the generations after and the perpetualness of the system that's been continued by those, even though nobody wants to claim they're doing it, we know what's going on. We know what it is. And just because you may go find somebody like Will Cain did. Did you hear what Will Cain said? Clarence Thomas is the greatest Black American there ever was. And you heard Stevenson say, that's what you say. That was what you say, right? And many of us say, yeah, that's what you say, right? And so that's what it is. You go find that one that's going to substantiate the position you hold. And here's the plethora of people who say something else. We're going to take this one so we can dismiss all them others. That's how they play the game, right? That's what they go do. And so the reckoning, what is the reckoning? To rectify the situation, to make amends as he goes on. So Bruce Springsteen says, well, is this country ready to deconstruct its founding myth? Is there a myth in this country that a lot of people hold dear, true to their hearts? But is it a myth? When people of all persuasions say Constitution, 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 is that Constitution about you? Have you got to the forensic part of that? Did you get down to the core of what it's really about? Or it sound good in your belief? Not what you know, but what you believe. And in that knowing, you will know that it did not pertain to you. It pertained to a particular people of a particular peoples and their descendants only. But everybody plays the game as if it's all inclusive. Civiliter Mortuus, the walking dead. So Obama says wealth, power was built on the backs significantly, and it had no generational wealth. No redress, no compensation. Reparations, he said yes. But then the kickstand was theoretically. Theoretically, right? In theory, it would be the right thing to do. But to get it done, everybody is showing their teeth. Basically everybody show their damn teeth at us. When you say reparations, they show you their damn teeth. Yeah, LD people tell you they believe in God, they fear, all this stuff, they're good, wholesome, good people. But when it come to that, who y'all fooling? Who y'all think y'all fooling? Shane Washington said, I foresaw that this move about affirmative action was about getting rid of our people. Shane Washington said, they are big lies. We built this country 100% off our backs, blood, sweat, tears. Today, our people get the worst, hardest jobs. Lastly, Shane Washington said, he told the truth. They did not go to the moon. Yeah. A lot of our people of that time and old people were told us that. But, you know, I remember in school they used to tell us the Van Halen belt, which you can't get through the Van Halen belt. And all of a sudden now you can go to the moon. But I remember back in, what was that? Was it 80? Was it 80 or 90? When they finally try and test it. Remember they put that mug blew up. Remember that? Yeah. Well, a lot of y'all was around. Remember they really tried to go and boom. Right? Remember that? Like, damn, that shit blew up. All the kids was watching that shit, trying to make right? It blew up, right? Try to go through that Van Halen belt. Anyway. Anyway, right? So you know, you play the game, but again, that's another time for another time. So anyway, so he is a president, an ex-sitting president, telling you that yes. Now many of them will say, well, he's black like you, right? Remember he said he was on The View. And you can see when he was growing up, he had identity crisis too. He's half white, half black. I know everybody don't want to count the white part because somehow they didn't told you one drop of black blood, don't you discount all your whiteness. What part of science is that? Is it about the biology or is it about the blood? Right? So that's what, people's minds are all twisted up, believing all kind of cockamamie and shit that don't make no damn sense. Right? Got a message here. Oh, the Challenger. Yo, you remember that, huh, Sharon White? Yeah, the Challenger, right? They try to go up there, boom! Like, everybody watched that. The kids was crying and I was messed up. Like, damn, that motherfucker blew up because they actually tried it. But again, those who remember that show I showed you with O.J. Simpson played in Capricorn 1, they told us then they didn't go to the moon. The movie goes, if y'all ain't never seen, go watch the movie called Capricorn 1. And what they did is they got into the spaceship, and then when it's going to take off, they told them, come on through the back door, put them in a van, put them on a plane, flew them out to the damn desert, and they had to kill their ass so they can pretend like their ass went up, and gave them a fake ass studio and try to tell their wife they was on the moon. That was like in the 70s. They told that in the 70s. And matter of fact, wasn't it Barack Obama told Stephen Curry when Stephen Curry said that they didn't go to the moon and scolded his ass and said he can't never say that? Ain't that something he took? Put down that chicken in that Xbox. Remember he told niggas that? Almost like the pound cake speech. Telling niggas something all day long. We're going to have a damn beer summit when a white mug, locking a professor up at his own damn house. We know how it go, man. We know how it go. We know how it go. Anyway, we know how it go. So, okay, some people will say, well, he's black. Of course he's going to say that he's black. All right, then. How about this? Let me get somebody of your liking. But you're going to use his party, though. You're going to use his party to try to really disqualify this. I know you're going to do it. But there was a commencement address at Howard University called to fulfill these rights. Now I want you to hear these words because guess what? This is going to be June 8th. I think it's June 8th, 1964. Today's July 9th. And anyway, so I want to show y'all this. I want to show you something. Here. All right. Now, this is Lyndon B. Johnson. Now, you got to remember, affirmative action comes in and when? 60 what? Remember the executive order by Lyndon B. Johnson is 65. John F. Kennedy wrote the original one in 61. This is the affirmative action. Okay? But look at what Lyndon B. Johnson is going to say at the University of Howard at a commencement. Now let's look at this. Let me show you. Let me show these words. Let me show you these words. Yeah? Okay. Let's go ahead and put that up on the screen there for me, sir. All right. Look what he says here, right? Our enemies may occasionally seize the day of change, but it is the banner of our revolution they take, and our own future is linked to this process of swift and turbulent change in many lands in the world. But nothing in any country touches us more profoundly, and nothing is more frightening and meaning for our own destiny than the revolution of the Negro American. In far too many ways, American Negroes have been another nation, deprived of freedom, crippled by hatred, the door of opportunity closed to hope. Okay? Our enemies, who's the enemy he talking about in there? Our enemies seize the day, the banner of revolution. Our own future is linked to the change in many lands, but nothing out of all of that is more profound and more fright in our own destiny than that of the Negro American. Something about that Negro American, if he ever gets to his justice, all justice cease. All things end. Huh? It says in many ways, American Negroes have been another nation. That's right. We're another nation inside of here. Have been for a long time. What have we been? Deprived of freedom, crippled by hatred, and the doors of opportunity have been closed to hope. Huh? Okay, right, all right. Let me show these things here. Let me show these words. 1964. Freedom is not enough, but freedom is not enough. You do not wipe away the scars of century by saying, now you are free to go where you want and do as you desire. Choose the lesser of you. Well, I can't say what that. I can't see what that is. Choose the. I can't see what that word is. Sorry, y'all. Lesser of you, please. You do not take a person who, for years, I don't know why he's saying years, have been hobbled by chairs and liberate him, or chains. I'm sorry, by chains and liberate him. Bring him up to the starting line of a race and then say, you are free to compete with all others and still justly believe that you have been completely fair. Say that one more again, Mr. Blow Your Mind. Don't mind if I do. Freedom is not enough, but freedom is not enough. You do not wipe away the scars of century by saying, now you are free. Go where you want. Do as you desire. Choose the leader you please. You do not take a person who for years, means centuries, have been hobbled by chains, liberate him, bring him to the starting line of a race, and then say, you are free to compete with all others and still justly believe that you have been completely fair. So all y'all that are against black people, talking about reparations and that you guys are lazy, you ain't done nothing. It's 64. You heard what the president said in 2000, when he leave in 2016? You heard what he said, right? So that means that this nation knows what it does or has done. They know what has been done, right? They know, right? Okay, right? Freedom is not enough. Freedom. So you go give somebody freedom, and that's supposed to be enough. That's like people who believe free emancipation. You know, emancipation was only good through the war. After the war, that's why they had to come with the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. It was only a wartime executive order, only good to after the war. They had to come with the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment because now, remember, Lincoln gets assassinated, and who comes in behind him does what? He rescinds everything that Lincoln did. So they claim the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment was passed. But I told you about that first 13th Amendment, but that's another time for another time. But anyway, so think about that. Take a person who you had for centuries. You've been hobbled in by chains. Oh, Paul, I love you. Misery. Hi, Paul. Been hobbled. Liberate him. Now, when he get away, got to fuck Andy up to get up out of that bed, right? And liberate him. And then start in line and then say you're free to compete with all others. And a lot of people just believe that. I hear some people say, hey, man, you got emancipated and it was over and it was free. As if a rolling boulder down a hill stops the minute you say, okay, that's enough. The momentum still got to go, right? The downcline. And even when it gets down there, with all the momentum, they're still going to keep it rolling. It don't stop just because you said, Emancipation Proclamation, you're free. Why you motherfuckers believe that shit? As if, again, if you don't know the damn history, because what happened? You pardoned the motherfuckers that you said you fought. You gave them back all the shit that you said you took. And then you say, hey, you're free, but the deal is we're going to make them do a contract with you. And they're going to pay you, but we're not going to be able to watch them. But they're going to stay true to their word. And that's what we had to live through. That's what our people went through. That's what our people went through. And y'all had a damn mitigated gall in our damn face talking shit, and you from somewhere else. You know how disrespectful y'all is? You know how y'all hide behind the bully? Anyway, Got a couple messages real quick. 52 messages here too. Gates, Deuteronomy 4:3-4. Oh, hath God says to go and take him a nation from the midst of another nation by temptation, by signs and by wonders and by wars and by great tremors, according to all that. The scripture came to mind when you said a nation in the midst of another nation. Well, guess what? They been know that. They know that. And then they're going to break it down even. He's going to break it down even more than that. Check this out. All right, check this out. Let me show you. Let me hold on. Okay, yeah, go there. Okay. Okay, so let me show you this. It says, thus it is not enough just to open the gates, as you say, gates of opportunity. All our citizens must have the ability to walk through those gates. Okay? Think about that. It's not enough just to open the gates of opportunity. You know how the people say, I come here for a better life. I come here for better opportunity. Well, we've been here too. We've been here the whole time too. Because why the game of opportunity says what? All our citizens must have the ability to walk through that gate. That ain't nothing special. When you say we're coming here for a better life, well, we've been here in that damn line too before you. And somehow you got in front of me. As of now. But I've been fighting to get to that gate. And as I got to the damn gate, here you come. I'm going to show what I'm talking about. Then he says, this is the next and the most profound stage of the battle for civil rights. We seek not just freedom, but opportunity. We seek not just legal equity, but human ability. Not just equality as a right and a theory, but equality as a fact and equality as a result. The battle, this is 64. Gonna do voting rights 65, voting rights 64, right? Civil rights 65, Immigration Act 65. Oh, soon as you giving somebody something else happening, right? I'll show you next. We gonna show this. Hold on. We'll show all this good stuff here, right? We're gonna get it where it's at. We ain't got time for all that stuff everybody else doing. We up report. Take it or leave it alone. Right? So says for the task is to give 20 million Negroes. We were 20 million Negroes at the time of 1964. The same chance as every other American to learn and grow, to work and share in society, to develop their abilities physically, mental, spiritually, and to pursue their individual happiness. Oh, there go that word, individual. Not as a group, individual happiness. No, we all can't be happy. Certain ones amongst us will be happy. Not all of us. See, that's that kickstand everybody said, oh, they're not educated. So again, I oppose to those who hold that sentiment. If everybody in this nation was educated, would they all still have a job? Would they all still be able to make business? So that means in a democracy or capitalism, you got to have somebody designated as the bottom. Civiliter Mortuus. Somebody's at the bottom. Somebody's been designated at the bottom. And so I got to keep selling you drugs, gangs, killing, drop out school. I got to keep selling that. I got to sell that because somebody got to be there because there's a lot of things dependent upon that. A lot of things dependent upon that. To this end, equal opportunity is essential, but not enough. Not enough. Men, women, all races are born with the same range of abilities, but ability is not just product of birth. Ability is stretched or stunted by the family that you live with, and then the neighborhood you live in, by the schools you go to, and the poverty of the riches of the surroundings. It is the product of hundreds of unseen forces playing upon the little infant the child, and finally the man. Let me say this one more again. This script right here, he telling you the script right there. To this end, equal opportunity is essential, but not enough. Not enough. Men and women of all races are born with the same range of abilities. What are you saying? What are you saying, Mr. Blows Your Mind? Everybody has the propensity, the aptitude, huh? The abilities. When it's all in line. So a lot of y'all don't want to subscribe to that. A lot of y'all want to say, oh, y'all got something wrong with you, bro. Black people got something wrong with them mentally. They can't learn because of what? Do they have the same as you? What about these other people? Oh, he gonna cover that. Just hold on, hold your horses. He's going to cover those who came from somewhere else. For y'all that think that, oh man, this guy is talking a lot of shit. Well, let me show you something. Let me show you something. Hold on. Don't run nowhere. Don't run. Don't run. Don't run. Okay? Don't run. Said, but ability is not just the product of birth. Ability is stretched or stunted by the family that you live with. So, stretched or stunted by the people you live with. So, if I throw a monkey wrench in the family of black people, if I take a wrench and throw it in your motor and create a dynamic in the structure of your family structure, I can stunt the progression. The neighborhood you live in, if I make everybody around you poor, unemployed, the school's 100 years behind in the education, not enough materials, poor teachers. If the people around you poor, then the only thing that you can aspire to is poverty. Because those who got something get the hell away from amongst us. Do they not? You find the ice colder, the sky bluer, the water tastes fresher across the street. Then he says, it is the product of 100 unseen forces. What is those unseen forces? You know how everybody like the boomerang? Oh, black people, 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 black people. You don't see the unseen forces like a remote control. Those of us when we grew up, we used to be the remote control. You boys up there, turn channel 2, channel 5, channel 7, channel 9. Damn, why would you get your lazy up and go yourself? Huh? And then if I ain't got a remote control, remember the 3 button ones? Like, damn, how that shit work? Damn, that shit turned in it too. Then it was the batteries. Then he's like, damn, go to the store, need some battery back, right? When you remote control, but the remote control has a mechanism that you don't know how it works, other than fact putting batteries in, but there's some magic happening between in that remote and in behind in that TV. So there's some unforeseen forces that operate. That a lot of you sellout niggas love to say, black people, black people, black people, black people, black people. But you don't know the dynamics. Somebody got some unforeseen forces. That those effects go to the baby, to the child, to the man. I didn't say this. You seen it on your screen. 1964, Lyndon B. Johnson told this to the Howard University students. Got a message here. Hold on. Share watch this says our people are to stay in the Lord's position. We must buy their services and products for them to stay on top. This is the point of slavery. Spoken like a true sister with wisdom. Man. Okay. Let me give you the next one. Oh, let me take that down so they can see. Because if I leave it up there, they won't be able to see. So next one. Check this out, y'all. Check it out. That's all these people who say they know. Oh, y'all cried. You know, hey, the establishment been knew all this. But it's something, again, the reckoning, as Obama said, the theoreticalness of solving it. Nobody wants to deal with it. Remember when Obama came in, the banks were telling too big to fail, $777 billion, right when the mother got in. Damn, you could have did that shit when Bush ass was in there. You wait till the nigga get in there. $777 billion. Anyway, a widening gulf. A widening gulf. Okay. But for the great majority of Negro Americans, the poor, the unemployed, the uprooted, and the dispossessed, there is a much grimier story. We ain't talking about the ones that are coming up out of the hood that's trying to get us up and get to another level. We're going to talk about the poor ones, the unemployed ones, the uprooted ones, the dispossessed ones. So there's a much grimier story. They still, as we meet here tonight, are another nation. That's another nation inside of a nation. Remember, originally said that the Negro Americans was another nation. Now, inside of that, like Inception, inside of that nation, there's the poor, the unemployed, the uprooted, the dispossessed ones, with a much grimier story that is also separated from that group. Because you'll hear a lot of people in this corner talking about, I don't waste my time talking to them down there because oh no, that's why I'm going there, because I know where our people at. I know my people is all that shit, y'all. I'm educated. But you don't go down there to the least of us, then what you talking about then? What good is it to talk to a bunch of motherfuckers in the room that's like you that ain't gonna do shit? You need somebody who's inspired to want to do something. Right? But anyway, don't pay attention to me. They still are, okay, he says, then he says, despite the court orders, the laws, despite the legislative victories and speeches, for that group he talking about, that other nation, the walls are rising and the gulf is widening. Is it still today? Yes, it is. That wall rising and the gulf is getting wider as these things that are happening. Because a lot of you who think, oh, I got my fallout kit, I got my extra water, we done stacked up all our food, and again, hold on, let's show that again. Show that one more again. The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead. The ones outside the system with nowhere to go and nothing. They told you that that was a big hit, that movie, Walking Dead. Coming to a neighborhood near you. Walking Dead. The Walking Dead. Oh, somebody ran up out of here. Oh, they ran up out of here. Oh, I know you're going to run up out of here. All right, so I'm going to keep going. So now, right? So wine and golf, right? Then he goes and he's talking about the causes of, hold on one second. Okay, like I said, got some technical difficulties, but that's expected. The causes of inequality. We are not completely sure why this is. We know the causes are complex and subtle, but we do know the two broad basic reasons, and we do know that we have to act. First, Negroes are trapped. Negroes are trapped. As many whites are trapped, inherited. Inherited. See, trying to make it sound like they were trapped like the Negro trapped. No. They're trapped in their inherited. Gateless poverty. They lack training and skill. They are shut in slums without decent medical care. Private and public poverty combine to cripple their capacities. Negroes are trapped. Lack of training and skills. Shut in slums. Private and public poverty combine to cripple their capacities. Sound design? Is it design? Is it by design? Running out of here. Yeah, they're running out of here. Yeah, they're running out of here. Came up in here. They're liking that part. You get to see that. See, the other people they be talking to, you ain't gonna come with that with them. See, you ain't got no excuse on, but you know what they're gonna say? Well, Lyndon B. Johnson was a Democrat. He white though. He white. How about that part? He just white. Democrat, Republican, he's still white. He's not gonna go against the total interest of white people, whether he's Democrat or Republican. Eh? Come on, stop that. Stop all that, right? Stop that. Okay? So, but there is a second cause, much more difficult to explain, more deeply grounded, desperate in its force. It is the devastating heritage of a long years of slavery and the centuries of oppression, hatred, and injustice. If the government, if the president is sitting there saying this in 1964, they already know. So you who was not here in 64, family wasn't here in 64, and today talking about you don't want race-based. Okay. We got another trick for that bag. We don't have to do race. How about if we just make it exclusive about that lineage of people who fall under that? And then let's see what happens then. Y'all won't have no, you ain't gonna have no shot at nothing now. We make this shit all about only those of that lineage. It's gonna be, like I said, remember I did that one show talking about them tickets trying to go back? Gonna be too high, you ain't gonna be able to get out of here. Anyway. They knew all this, right? They knew all of this. This ain't nothing new, right? So they said, special nature of Negro poverty. For Negro poverty is not white poverty. Many of its causes and many of its cures are the same, but there are differences, deep, corrosive, obstinate differences, radiating painful roots into the community and into the family and the nature of the individual. Let me say that one more again. Remember what Will kept saying about individual? He tried to make it seem like discrimination was individual and it was only about the white and the Asians. Well, here's Lyndon B. Johnson telling you that racism affects from the baby to when he's a child until when he becomes a man. And that's just the boy, even when it comes to the female as well, both, right? When you come from these conditions, right? But see, some people try to make poverty is equal. Is there a difference being white and poor and black and poor? Well, many people say that white people have the complexion for the protection. There's some benefits in that white skin if you know how to use it. But when you don't know how to use it, it's just like, I was gonna say something, but I don't want to that'll sound a little too crazy. But no, I ain't gonna say that. But anyway, but just having something, but you don't know how to use it. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about? He got it, but he don't know how to use it, right? So what good is it? He don't know how to use it, right? I don't know how to say it the other way around. That'd be some fugazi. But anyway, right? Anyway, right? So they're saying the causes and the cures are the same. You could cure and the same causes that create white poverty and black poverty, you probably could cure them both with the same method. But there is a distinction in the white one. There's some privilege, even though he's poor and white, that the black does not have. The black one don't have. He don't have it. And so by you being who we are, it's deep, corrosive, and have a painful roots in the community where we come from. And what you see is the overlays of it spewing out. And so what they do is they televise it, propagate it, keep showing it over and over. Look at them, look at them, look at them. They're animals, they're animals, they're animals. But that's the effect. But what's the cause? What caused it? See, that's what Stephen A. Smith was saying. The cause. Y'all always want to skip the cause. You want to show, oh, we're being discriminated against. Oh, they're animals. But what caused it? Lyndon B. Johnson said it's too complex to lay out. There's some unforeseen things happening. Well, again, like I said, with the remote control. Right? For the Negro, there are constant reminders of oppression. See, they said, for the Negro, for them, when they see us, we are a constant reminder of oppression. For whites, they are a constant reminder of guilt. What Black Americans does to this country, to white folks, is we remind them of what you've done, what you haven't cleaned up. So you try to find a way to reverse it and make it something wrong with us. But Lyndon B. Johnson said, hey, look, this is what it is. This is the mindset here. Right? But they must be faced, and they must be dealt with, and they must be overcome if we are ever to reach a time when the only difference between Negroes and whites is the color of their skin. And that's what everybody said. It's race. Nobody's playing the race game with the color of skin. It's not about the color of our skin. It's the other part of it. It's the unforeseen part of it. It's the part that all of you deny that exists, that those who don't want to. And even our own people do the same shit, act like certain shit. Oh, you guys are using this as a damn excuse. If it don't exist, I can't use it. If it didn't exist, I can't use it. But you prefer to say that, right? So we know what this really is. What is it, Mr. Blow Your Mind?
We ain't got no fences here at Camp 8. We don't need no fences. We got us the gun line.
Tell them about the gun line, boss.
This is the gun line. It runs from shack to shack, clear around the yard. You are now inside the gun line. You step outside the gun line without my permission, you will be shot. You trip and fall over the gun line, you will be shot. You spit, you pee, you so much as stick your Johnson out over the gun line, you will be shot. And you, Slick, don't try to run, don't try to escape. One of my trustees will put a bullet in your head. You prisoners are now the property of the state of Mississippi, which is to say I own your ass. And in case you haven't met this handsome young fella, this is Hoppin' Bob. You run afoul of Bob, you run afoul of me.
Time that America refused to give the Negro any land. Through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
For our Low Country Report, a 93-year-old Hilton Head woman whose family has ties to the Civil War generation says developers are trying to force her to sell her land, starting with what she calls a frivolous lawsuit. As WSAV's Andrew Davis tells us, now the community is backing her fight.
This porch has been part of Josephine Wright's family and her home for more than 30 years. But developers now say it's part of their property, even though it's 22 feet from the road that they're building on. And they filed a lawsuit to try to take it from her.
I've been pretty much of a fighter all my life.
And even at 93, this grandmother to 40, great-grandmother to 50, and great-great-grandmother to 16 more says she's ready to fight for her family's past and future.
It puzzled me at first, but then it got me angry.
Angry at the lawsuit filed against her by Bailey Point Investment. They're the group who are developing the land right behind her home on Jonesville Road, property that has belonged to her family since the Civil War. The 147-unit plan has been approved and is well on its way, but Bailey Point says Wright is blocking their progress. They filed a lawsuit saying parts of her home are on their property, and they have the paperwork to prove it. In fact, they're asking for damages. Wright already paid to move a shed and a satellite dish, but the developers say her porch is still on land they own.
See, I'm at least, 12 feet away from the borderline, which is right there.
Actually, neighbors helping her say it's 22 feet away from the road that Bailey Point built. Josephine says this isn't about a porch. The developers made offers to buy her land, and she claims when she turned them down, they started harassing her.
And I don't want to say anything that can be used against me, but I think they're unscrupulous and greedy. And they want nothing but all the property they can get their hands on.
Kelly LeBlanc is part of the newly formed Jonesville Preservation Society. She and her fellow neighbors, many of whom are related and original islanders, have garnered support from Hilton Head residents and town leaders, all to make sure the island's past here and everywhere will be protected in the future.
We can't change the zoning. The town is looking very carefully at all of the approvals that they're going through. So the town is really working with us in terms of it's got to be to the letter of the law.
In the meantime, Wright has a lawyer of her own now and is ready to fight for her property and her history. And what do you want?
I want to just keep my property and let them leave me alone.
Andrew Davis, WSCV News 3 on.
We back, right? We back, right? So 93-year-old Josephine Wright fights against land developers to keep her historical family home, right? Yeah, beginning of the show, Civiliter Mortuus, right? Walking Dead, right? Nobody respects no rights. Again, according to the 1857 case with the it's mine right now, but there's no law that the white man is bound to respect when it comes to your rights, right? So let's look at this here, right? Imagine that, 93 years old, been living your life, doing your duty, all the things that supposedly you do to maintain something, but obviously, again, last show talked about what? Eminent domain, right? Remember the eminent domain entire race? Eminent domain, right? So yeah, you got 93-year-old Josephine Wright. Now, this story is going in Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. Some of you might know the history about Hilton Head Island of South Carolina, right? So it's this investor group called Bailey Point. They're the one that she said they're harassing her to get her to sell her land. Now, accordingly, as you heard in that report there, they talked about how her family has had this property since the Civil War. Now, again, we're talking about Civil War, so that's talking about, again, Black Americans, Indigenous, needy, more, all the above umbrella term. As I say, Black Americans, we all biologically going to be the same people, lineage, and when we do and trace, we're going to be family in some sort of way, and that connections. What we call ourselves may not be right and exact, but who we are is what's going to be definite. So, with that being said, that Civil War ties to that group, these people, us people, we people, right? And what I found that was unique about this, and I think this is where the story is slanted, is that they said that her husband's relatives were the ones that acquired this. So something in their family, of her husband's family, is where this property is acquired from. So by her being a Marian, I think somebody's trying to use something to get her out, right? But she has children. Now, they say they are the Gullah Geechees, right? Who were the Gullah Geechees? They said the family is tied to the Gullah Geechees. Again, Gullah Geechees, you'll see there's a lot of our brothers and sisters, a lot of them are on the corners. They're in these black corners. They're teaching about indigenous history and giving insight and information. You might find some of them brothers and sisters out here. And some of them, so there's some information where some will say that some of them are Africans and others will say, no, they're indigenous. Okay? So there's a little discrepancy between the two. I like to go with the latter, which is the indigenous part of it. But so that means that whatever was established by them, they're trying to renege on that. Because why? They don't respect none of that prior to, again, as I said earlier, about when you talk about aboriginals and aboriginals of land, they never seem to be people that look like you and I. It's always a much lighter people. And the only ones that they will probably give credit to is these are those of Australia and the African. They don't even call him an aboriginal or nothing. He's just an African, right? And so they said that the developers wanted to tear down this particular land so that they can develop this 29-acre, 147 unit that they had planned that somehow been agreed to by the city. So I would assume that somebody should have had already went out there and surveyed and know the property lines. And it seems like, I don't know whether that was done or not, but you kind of heard with that white woman when they put her on there, she said, well, we can't change the zonings. Now, did you catch that right off the bat? We can't change the zonings. So that tells me that that might be the technicality they're going to use, that somehow zonings got changed and how they restructured it. Your property fell in that new zoning, and we'll be keeping an eye on this, right? But there's some more interesting things I want to bring out about this, and that this Bailey Point offered to buy her land in the beginning, and then when she refused it, according to her, she said they started to harass her. Her tires were being slashed, trash was being thrown in her yards, we were hanging snakes in her windows, right? So, as old fighting as that we are, regards to what our age is, we've been through the rigmarole. We're very battle tested when it comes to all this. So she was puzzled at first, and then she got angry. And she said, well, I guess they figure I would be some unnerved and be harassed by this and wouldn't take it. But she said, they don't know me. I'm here to fight for what I have, and I want to keep my property and then leave me and for them to leave her alone. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this to again, as I talked about the last show about eminent domain, and what we're finding is you keep seeing stories. I have been seeing a lot of stories where those of us who have elders in our families that have property that go back, that they been around or have been in our family since some of them have got some from freedmen's, right? And you got to remember there was a time when, not like today, where I don't even know if you even get a deed to show that you own a house other than the satisfaction of a mortgage paper, but they used to hold the deeds to the land, not just the property, right? And so when you think about what happened in Katrina, I wonder, did a lot of them lose the documents of that land that they had owned because of the flooding, and a lot of papers that end up becoming lost or watered? So what ended up happening now, we see down in them areas, it's a little bit more whiter than it was, a lot more whiter than it was, right? So there may be some, as she said, land grabbing, right? And so when you have cronies in positions that can help you zone and position, and you seeing certain things and you know who's there, eminent domain says that they can give you just compensation for your property, and you be fine with that. I done lived in neighborhoods where I done seen some people who try to say, hell no, they won't go. they built around them, and then eventually they came in there and got all kinds of let's say violations and all that stuff. And next thing you know, they was up out of there, right? And they was elderly too. So it happens, right? So I had seen a little later on that they talked about that. I think Tyler Perry said he's going to get involved. I don't know what he can do other than his money for help with litigation. But based on what I heard, that little insert when she said, well, we can't change the zoning laws, that told me it's already, you know, seemed to be a done deal, because they said there's running across the porch already the lines. And she said, well, it should be 22 feet from the street, but they said, no, I come across our porch too. So somehow, you know, wheeling and dealing, and it'll come to us. Because think about it, when you buy a house, you thinking that you're buying a house so that it can be an institution for your family, so that it can be passed from generation to generation. So when the situations come, people got a place to go. But as time goes and city planners and developers come in and got ideas for that area, you can lose that. You understand? So there's no guarantee. There's no such thing that you can be there. We had this house in our family for 200 years. I guess people who are rich, they got those in the hills and stuff like that. You might be able to do that, but those who got mortgages and so forth, will that house be here 100 years, 200 years from now? Will that house be able to be passed down from one to another? Probably not. Right? Probably not. So the one thing that I seen on this here, as I talk a little bit more about that, remember it was in Hilton Head, right? Hilton Head Island. And I wanted you to see something here. Now I had a question I want to pose to y'all, right? Because that's look at this, y'all. Look at this. 93 years old, boy, huh? Look good for 93, huh? Look good. Now, I'm not talking sexual now. Look good for 93. Right? You wouldn't think she's 93. Right? And so she said she's a fighter. Just like, did y'all hear that they had rejected the Oklahoma giving them reparations again? But remember, I told y'all already back in 2004 when they went with Johnny Cochran. Didn't I already tell y'all they had already did that back then? So you know they were just gonna keep doing the same thing, right? I'll probably touch that on the next show. I'll bring that back up again. But they did. They said no. As I was coming on, they were talking about no, they weren't doing it. Matter of fact, I got a message. Hold on, I got a message real quick. Okay, running out of here. Mr. Smith said she beautiful. Exactly, right? She beautiful for 93 years old, man. That's a beautiful elderly woman. Still maintained, still got it together. Black don't crack, as they say, right? Keep that maintaining that, right? Beautiful. Exactly. Right? And we give it when it's there. And that's what that is, right? So let me show you a little something here that I've seen about this Hilton Head history. Let me show you something here. And let me see if y'all can figure this out, right? See on your screen there? Let me take down Spence for a second. I'll put you back up there, bro. That's my executive producer of the show there. Now, it says, when William Hilton landed in the Low Country in 1663, he was greeted by Spanish-speaking Indians from the Yamasee tribe who had migrated north from Florida 100 years prior. He also encountered the native Esquimaux Indians, but little was known of their earlier native civilization that inhabited the island as far back as 4,000 years ago. Remnants of mysterious shell rings measuring up to 240 feet across, 9 feet high, can still be found on the island, yet, like the enigmatic rocks of Stonehenge and the carving of Easter Island, their secrets remain hidden. Today, you can view these artifacts on Hilton Head Island history at Sea Pines Forest Preserve and on the north end of the island off Square Pope Road in Green Shell Park. Now, what's Shit, they wiped they almost wiped everybody out here. Okay, now what is? Wait a minute. What is a Spanish-speaking Indian? What is that? What is a Spanish-speaking Indian? Can anybody help me with that one? Does anybody remember last show when I showed you what Lincoln said? Remember when Lincoln had that case and the man that was being called Black Bill by his sister, well, he married the sister of the brother-in-law and went to court. And what did Lincoln say about him? Then he called him, he said, remember the defendant lawyer was named Moore, M-O-O-R-E, right? And he used the analogy of his name to the reference to that which they call the Moor. And then he said he might be a Moor, right? But he was no Negro. And a Moor being because he said his father was from Portuguese, right? So I'm like, is this coded for something? Spanish-speaking Indians? Is that like a conquistador, black conquistador, but he an Indian? Because how can a Native American speak Spanish if he's Mongolian? And so the door opens that from Spanish. You say he coming from Florida. We know that the conquistadors came through in Florida, right? And then they got the story of 1526 or 1528 when the so-called Spanish supposedly had 100 Negroes, or Spaniards had them, and then they got off and they got shipwrecked and they left. So there was 100 Maroons running around at that time. But that's just the story. I'm not telling them that's the story, right? But I thought it was ironic to say Spanish-speaking Indians. How does this Indian speak Spanish? When there was no Spain, well, 1663, I guess there is a Spain, right? There is a Spain, right? But yeah, Spanish-speaking Indian. All right. I just was wondering. We Boogie said more Indians, huh? I'm just asking. Is it possible? You know, he tells all kinds of things. Again, the indigenous people in here can't be of color. And I'm not saying that the more is the indigenous, but you using the reference of Indian with this Spanish speaking. And I say, well, if he's Spanish, he had to came from Spain. And again, when I did some tracing, I found that those Mongolians is fucking with the damn those who was the what they call those that was on the ships when they go to Genoese and all that with Columbus and all them Mongolians over there with them too. But he wouldn't been calling them no Indian. Yeah, he wouldn't call them no Indian. Hey, okay, well, you know how it go, right? So I just was wondering, right? So yeah, okay, that's how it is. Okay. Let me put this up here just in case. I should have somebody in here because my executive producer in here. You know, he always all good. Just in case you want to do something to the show here, we should always come there. I think, right? Those who want to do any contributions, we come on every Sunday, unless it's a holiday on Monday. We'll come on that Monday, but we come on every Sunday between times of 5 and 7. Like what we do over here, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, right? And those who want to give some contributions, the show definitely need it. And y'all won't even believe how I'm even doing today's show, but I'm doing it because I had to. But anyway, now, let me go back something here, right? Let me do this and come right back. Let's go. We're gonna go.
Smell that?
Yeah, I smell something.
Smells good, right?
Yeah, you know, I think maybe we should go to another place. Our fiance ain't really very well.
Are you kidding? Tell me you don't want one of these pies right here, right over here.
Well, the pies look good, Carl, but I kind of lost my appetite when I came in here. My appetite just left.
Good afternoon, Billy. We'd like some coffee and a couple of slices of pie.
How do you know my name is Billy?
Well, it says it right there on your shirt.
If you boys can read so good, how come you missed that sign on the door over there?
Oh, that sign on the door that we just... How come we didn't see that sign that say no colors allowed, Chloe? We just rushed in. We was really hungry, so we kind of missed that. But look, we see it now, so bye.
Look,
Come on,
man,
let's
we've
go.
been traveling all day.
Yeah, let's go.
All we want is some coffee and a couple of slices of pie. Is that all right?
No, these are whites-only pies.
But do you have any Negro pies?
Hey, Chloe, come on now. This woman ain't got the recipe to no Negro pie. Where would she get that recipe? Another establishment, we can get us some pie. Come on, how far is the next town?
35 miles.
Yeah, come on, let's go down here.
I'm not driving no 35 miles to get no pie. Lady, ma'am, okay? Now, we want some pie, okay? We are hungry, okay? Billy, we want some pie.
Let me take care of this.
Why somebody got to die because you want some pie?
Let me take care of it. Look here, look. We from New York. My name Ray Gibson, okay? Let's talk turkey. How much it gonna cost to turn one of them white-only pies into nigger pie?
How about I turn y'all into nigger pie?
So you say about 35?
35 miles.
Okay, maybe we find another establishment down the road, where, we won't have a problem. Yeah, I ain't no white folks so serious.
For our Low Country Report, a 93-year-old.
Here, members of Chicago City Council say they feel they're getting answers and action to address the migrant crisis.
But they believe taxpayers will still need to.
Here, members of Chicago. Here, members of Chicago City Council say they feel they're getting answers and action to address the migrant crisis.
But they believe taxpayers will still need to pony up millions more to stabilize the situation. CBS 2 political investigator Dana Kozlov explains.
I am grateful that you all are having this conversation. And so
clarity. It's what members of the City Council's Immigrant and Refugee Rights Committee say was long overdue when it comes to the migrant situation. Now they have some.
The amount of detail and the transparency that you all have exhibited on this issue is refreshing and something that we have not had.
So this is the balance.
It was the committee's first meeting under Mayor Brandon Johnson. His deputy chief of staff, Dr. Christina Passione-Zayas, providing detailed information about the number of asylum seekers the city's received so far, the cost, and a plan to manage the issue moving forward.
As of this morning, there were 4,988 individuals in 12 shelters across the city. Over 650 are in our police stations.
This meeting comes about a month after the full city council approved $51 million to handle the migrant issue. But Passione-Zayas says the full cost since the first buses arrived last August is actually $101 million in total. That includes $72.6 million spent on shelter staffing, $10.6 million on shelter leases, and $9.1 million on meals. Are Chicago taxpayers going to be asked to fork over any more dollars in the immediate future?
So I don't know that yet, but I would say considering we approved $51 million that we anticipated would run out at the end of June, July, I could see us coming back to question.
Committee Chairman Andre Vasquez and others say federal help is a must to manage the ongoing situation.
We have much work to do.
And Passione-Zayas says outreach is already underway. In the past, many alderpeople, including 20th Ward Alderwoman Jeanette Taylor, expressed frustration that millions could so quickly be found for asylum seekers, but not for long-struggling Chicago communities.
But when the hell are y'all gonna help us?
Passione-Zayas says $15 million will now go towards the city's unhoused population.
it does make me say that the city is moving in the right direction.
While the city continues to work on federal outreach, very soon a representative from the federal government will be embedded in the mayor's office to help coordinate housing issues. At City Hall, Dana Kozlov, CBS 2 News.
Thank you, Dana. That committee.
All right, I think we is back. All right, so that kind of just disappeared, right? That whole think about how it was a bait and switch. Remember that was such a big issue, then all of a sudden that just went away, right? Just like what happened to that? Well, that just went away, right? Like nothing ever happened. Okay. Yeah. All right. So again, going back to Will Cain and that whole thing with affirmative action and why they had to do what they do. And remember, I showed you with Lyndon B. Johnson, what he said at the commence speech with the Howard University and the things he spoke about. Let's look at some again. I remember I showed this on the last show before, but we're going to go over the numbers. I want the numbers stuck in some of y'all heads. Now, again, they show you the numbers of the population, right? In 2020. To 2010 to 2020, we see 331,501,000, and looks like 60 on my screen, or 80, right? Not quite sure. And then it shows you the population, right? It shows you the difference in the population. You can see how that group in that blue, the dark blue, is bigger than the light blue. The light blue is Black Americans. The blue area is those people, as it was talking about, those people, right? And then the pink is, that thing people call them the pink people, right? So that just fitting people, right? So the pink people, right? So if we go back 10 years of that, right? We go back to 2000 to 220. We see it breaks it down again. 300 and I can't see on my screen here. 305 million, I think that is 327,148, something like that, right? So you see that, and then you see we're gonna go back from 2020. We're gonna go back to 1970. Because remember, Lyndon B. Johnson is talking to the commencement in 64. So as we're going back, you can see that the shrinkage, right? You see the blue group it expanded a little bit more from what it was in 2010 to 2000. Black people steady at a steady pace between 12%, 11%, not really growing much. So let me just go ahead and take you all the way back to 70. Let's do that. It would be better if I do that first. This is 1970, right? This is the graph that they're showing in 1970. This is Black folks, right? It's just, with that song, just you, me, and you. That song, right? I think that was in but it's just me and us, right? It's just you and us. It was just us, right? Black folks, white folks. You, numbers you got, and the numbers we got. There's no one else. So when they were talking about affirmative action, as you heard when Stephen A. Smith said in 1970s, they wanted to make the schools have 10% more. So at that particular time when you're doing all this, who should have been the beneficiaries of all that? Right? Who were the beneficiaries of that? And you just now starting to, open the gates, as you say. You made Immigration Act of 65 as well. Now, what I'm going to show you is a screen here. I'll go to this one here, right? Now, on this here, what you see, you have to kind of go to the year. And what you'll see is in 1940, there was only 1.8 million Hispanics in this country, accounted by the census from 1940. By the time you get to 1960, it jumps to 12 million. Okay? From 1.8 million to 12 million. And then by the time you get to 1990, people who've been here from the inception of 1787, you catch up to them. Not naturally. But they're flooding you in. Okay? And to the point that when we look back now in 2020, go to 2020, we in third place. How is that humanly possible if we was here in 1970? If this was us in 1970s and you're nowhere on the board, how do you go from that in 1970s in 50 years, you outpopulate us? You mean to tell me black people ain't having babies? We ain't having babies. Right? We ain't having no babies, y'all. That a group came out of nowhere. It's like watching a game of your favorite team and your team was getting blown out. You kind of watching it, you kind of bored with it, you know, you drinking your beer, talking about, and then shit by the fourth quarter, 2 minutes, other team came back and they went, you like, God, oh shit, that nigga came. Is that humanly possible? When we talking about population, though. And then people say, why we be talking about why we against such and such a thing? We seen you come in. You think we can't notice that difference from 1.8 million in 1940 to by the time you get to 50 years later, you surpassed us? And then, according to what you showed in 2020, but let's look at what they said in 2020 about us. They said that in 2020, they said there were 46.9 million black people at 14.2%. But what you show is 12%, 12.6%. Okay. All right. So we see this big flux of people coming in, right? Just, you know, this new thing, they just coming in and they're telling everybody nobody wants no job, and American people, these are the jobs nobody wants, and you know, and all this stuff, right? And everybody flooding, oh, it comes for opportunities. But yet you had a people from 1970, 12% of the population. How is it that you said these things that were supposed to have been given and then got flooded out and got replaced back then and still replacing today? But we ain't supposed to say nothing. We supposed to act like that's just a figure of our damn imagination, right? Right? That's what we're supposed to say, right? So we're wrong if we say anything and then everybody get mad and say we being divisive and all that. No, we seen you come in. And I did a show once before, showed you about with I think it was it Ben Franklin? And he was talking about how if you bring people in and you keep undermining the ones that's already here, you end up cutting out their prosperity, their children. So as Sharon Washington said earlier, getting mad and they're gonna fight. That's what you're gonna provoke our young ones, because you Xing them out. Now you done cut out so that now when you're talking about going to school and opportunities, now they have a different measure scale that don't have to be revealed. And then you can't say discrimination now. Not that was really for us, but again, the game gonna change in a way that it's gonna have to be about lineage any damn way. That's just funny how that is, right? That's just funny how that goes. Now, I got one more part here before I get out on here. That's the new plantation, right? That's right, the new plantation. So they all coming in here getting that and being able to build theirs, but then you still gotta have somebody poor, so somebody gotta get that free labor, right? You'll pay them pennies on the dollar, but then you still want that other labor to be free, which is that's designated for us, right? Okay. Right. So I seen this conversation between Bill Maher, right? Bill Maher and it was Ice Cube. I think it was Ice Cube, right? And they had a sit-down conversation, and they were talking about some few things that was of some little interest. That might be of interest to y'all. And I want y'all to hear this a little bit. Now, you're gonna talk here about black family. You're gonna hear Bill Maher say this to Ice Cube, because remember Ice Cube said he was gonna do this, go through the internet and do he wanted to talk about some things. So I just happened to have called him. Maybe y'all did too. And if not, I took some of that conversation, a little bit of it, not a lot, but just a little bit, and I want to present this to y'all and see what y'all think about this. So listen to this, be right back.
When kids come out good, look, somebody once said, who has children has given hostages to fortune. It's true. Bad shit can happen to good people. But in general, when the parents do it right, the kids come out good.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I've seen some great parents with some crazy ass kids, you know, like, you know.
But you don't know how they parented when you weren't there.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
In general,
yeah,
I really feel like, and a kid doesn't absolutely even need two. Two is better.
Mm-hmm.
They just need one person who's going to always be there, and will, no matter what you do, if their kid is mad at the world, I'm still going to stay. You can throw rocks at my head, I'll be there tomorrow. And don't give in to their bullshit.
Yeah, that's my wife, Kim.
Don't want to be their friend.
Yeah.
You can be their friend when they're grown up and they're made, when the clay has been molded, but not before. That's what today's parents fuck up with. They want to be their kid's friend.
Or they're just
not your job.
Or they're totally scared of their kids. They don't want to say shit to them.
I do a bit about that, Mike.
You know what I mean? Like they don't want to say nothing to them. They don't want to they don't want their kid.
Their
they're
lip
like
is practically
scared.
trembling.
Yes.
When they're ready to go. Yeah. Ready to go.
It's
I know.
It's the wildest sight, you know. I think you got to be firm but fair, and you got to be the parent. You can't fall apart one day, like, you know, and just throw a tantrum and shit and you know, be a kid. Like, you got to hold it together. And so you're an example, you know, they're gonna watch you.
I feel like the black community has a lot of, like, on both ends of the spectrum, like parents who didn't do the job at all, and a lot of kids raised by grandparents, and then lots of parents who are like so much better than the white parents because they don't take bullshit and they just do it the way we used to do it, the right way. I had a, you know, you'll hate me for this, but a girlfriend years ago, and she said to me, the difference between me and my white friends is when I fuck up, like in the supermarket, the white friends, when we get home, my mother right then and
there. Right there. Yeah, you know.
And that's how you do it, right there in the cereal aisle.
I mean, you know, you gotta nip it in the bud, you know what I mean? You really do.
When kids come out good, look,
So that's the conversation that they was having, right? Again, he said children are hostage to fortune, right? You know, sometimes they got some weird ways of looking at stuff, right? And I'm pretty, as individuals is the new term, right? As individuals that we all look at things differently. So we may parent different or been parented different. And so it's kind of funny, as you go on more in this conversation a little bit, you're going to find that Bill Maher is picking Ice Cube brain because you got to remember Ice Cube came out with the was it the I don't know, it was a letter to Black America or the contract for Black America, and so ever since he did that, you know, there were a lot of people. Then they kind of spent it and made him like he was anti-Democrat or anti-Black because he was willing to deal with Trump and so forth, and so. Based on what his business venture when it comes to the big three, he's feel like he's being blighted by, you know, the big league, the NBA and stuff like that, and not allowing him to be commercial and so forth and being able to be a part of that. And they're trying to X him out. So he said he's gonna go on this tour. So he went here, and I believe that this Bill Maher, even though he may consider him a friend. But, you know, those who know Bill Maher see some stuff, you know, he'll say some little slick ass shit if you don't watch him. He does it here too. So again, he said children are hostages to fortune. A person to, so when you talk about when you raising children, a person who confides in and give directions and corrections, right? That's exactly structure. Anybody under the tutelage of some good structure can be formulated to do some things when they got somebody in their corner who confides in them, who gives them good guidance and directions. And you can pretty much get some people, but there's always unforeseen occurrences that befall us all. But in that sense, is that not even those who have the least try to give? I mean, I think somewhere in the scripture says even the evil ones don't even give their children a snake, right? Everybody try to give their children the best of what they can provide. And those who have less resources, less opportunity, do the same as if those who got it. But sometimes they don't get to manifest in that light. And so sometimes, again, when you talk about Black Americans, a lot of people give a stigmatization that, again, what is being put on TV, put on your news, put in your movies is some kind of standard. And it's not the standard. It is just that will get publicized more. It's like there's no ruffians and thugs and hoodlums and robbers in y'all community. But nobody highlights that on a constant basis. Nobody writes scripts that show that light, because you also have another element that even lives in that element that don't do those things. And they, working poor, taking care of the best of their family under the conditions and circumstances and environment, and do the best they can. And sometimes roses do grow out of concrete. Right? Sometimes that happens, right? And so he goes on, he talks about how he said, now this is Bill Maher. Blacks have both, right, of the spectrum. Okay, so these two ends he's gonna say, which he didn't have to put blacks. He could have just said people, parents, but he made it specific about blacks, that Black people from both spectrums, right, have bad parents, and then he said better than white parents, right? Well, what is that? Is that probably a compliment? Better than white parents? What that supposed to mean? Better than white parents? Is all white parents good parents? Have you ever seen a story where you seen the two, what's that shit they smoking? They be killing themselves and the baby in the back, and them two motherfuckers laid out dead. We see that, right? But I guess that's a different social class of people, so they don't, again, individual, that's them, it's not us totally. As if, like saying, like some of us, we grew up, we knew people who could be professionals, work, maintain a job, and hit that rock and still go to work every motherfucking day, and you wouldn't even know that shit, right? So a lot of people can keep that front. So it's not really about, trying to make the degraded and down and outright ones as they the only ones that no, there's some high class ones who they just be able to maintain because they got a little bit more money to maintain. But if they smoke more than they make, then you see the devastation that fall from the Jefferson, from the penthouse to the ground house, right? That may happen. So it goes again when you think about assets, when you think about assets, income, generational wealth, inheritance, if any of us had that, when we talk about, again, Black people and the history we come from, y'all wouldn't have nothing to put on TV bad about us. A lot of that shit come from those lack thereof. And it's not because people didn't want. It ain't come from the fact that lack thereof, let's say, I'm kind of thinking the word conceit. Sometimes they be putting these little bullshit ass words on us. Lack thereof drive and want and ambition. No. You're talking about people who, again, everybody else here emulate on style, dress, all that. So people who are naturally like that always can have some shit, but you don't get a chance to, because put it this way, the reason why a lot of people probably wouldn't want everybody to see Black Americans get reparations, because you're going to see how poor your ass look when they take their money and fix their ass up. Then you're going to look at yourself in the mirror, and then now you're going to try to elevate to that. So right now, the standard of that is not really that high because there's certain things that a lot of that stuff y'all can't afford. But if black folks can have money, you might see some things. Again, a gold ass car. You ever seen a gold ass car before? You ever seen a platinum ass car before? You know, you might see some magnificent shit. If black people could have some money and don't have to do all that other fuck shit to survive, that's what everybody really don't want to see. You don't shine. You talking about the king and queens of shine. If that's what we do, not all of us gonna do that. Not all of us gonna be like that, but we gonna have some nice shit. Our shit gonna be tight. It's gonna fit our style or who we are. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of funny that you try to make these things about that, but really the parenting is only based on the lack there of resources, economics. Without them, if you didn't have that, y'all wouldn't have shit to say about us. I promise you that shit. So the ultimate stigma that we also have to carry is being black in America. Other people from other places, the one thing that I didn't show you that Lyndon B. Johnson said is, he said the difference between black Americans and other Americans that come in from other places, you never had to deal with the ultimate stigma of being black in this country. You never had to deal with that and the legacy that came with that. So it's funny how sometimes you'll see them do interviews with people. Like I seen an interview the other day, I think it was Dame Dash. And Dame Dash has done things for himself and set himself in a certain way, and then he gives advice. I'm saying a person who does not come from the lineage of black Americans cannot have the same outlook because you don't come from the generational continuous of always being here. You were able, and parents are coming from somewhere else and resetting. You have a different mindset of a different trauma if you even got trauma. Because a lot of y'all act like y'all don't come from trauma. But y'all sure love saying we was on that damn boat together, but you don't come from the same situation. But y'all tried to make some kind of compatibility as its equivalent. And then you come here feeling like because you've been discriminated against, well, shit, anytime you go somewhere, you can always leave. You know, see, that's easy. Get up and leave. So you don't get to come and complain if you left from somewhere else. But in the case of black Americans, have always been here from the inception, always enduring, always going through this shit, right? I don't want to talk about that shit, right? I know you crying. You're always fucking crying. It's a reality y'all just don't want to deal with. So listen to a Cube goes in and he's going to talk about some other stuff. Check this out. Be right back.
Right.
At the end of the day.
People of color used to be, reversed 50 years ago.
Yeah, and it's just done to really keep us bickering and, chasing these words.
Okay, so
and not really getting to the root of the issues, which are most of the time very common if we really go down to the root of it.
Could not agree more.
Yeah.
But you said it's being done to divide us. Okay, by who? Who's doing it?
Well, who benefits and profits off our bickering and our division? It's like follow the money. I don't know their names, Bill, but if you follow the money, you go high enough, you start to see, okay, this is an industry. Okay, let's take rap music.
Let's take it.
Same people who own the labels own the prisons. So
literally the same people?
Literally the same people who own the labels own private prisons. So it seems really kind of suspicious, if you want to say that word, that, the records that come out are really geared to push people towards that prison industry.
But they didn't make you write those lyrics.
It's not about making somebody write the lyrics. It's about being there as guardrails to make sure certain songs make it through and certain songs don't. Certain flavors are exposed on the record. You know, some records are made by committee. Meaning record company guys sit around and tell the artists, this is hot, say that, do this. We're gonna have this guy write the lyrics. We're gonna have that. So the narrative is really kind of, you know, structured and really made into what the record company want the record to be, and what the, you know, a lot of artists are frustrated with this kind of music making. You know, a lot of people, you know, feel like they're being controlled by the label. This is how they do it, telling you what songs to sing, what hooks to do, what songs. You know, you can do your song. That's fine. That's an album cut. But you wanna, the single is what we all say is the single. So you have, you know, the record company pushing the narrative, you know, and you know, so this to me is in somewhat, you know, some social engineering going on here to make sure those prisons stay full. Now, there's a lot of dots to connect to make that happen, but I'm just giving you a broad example of how people at the top can manipulate what's going on with the people who are bickering and fighting. I just gave you a music example, but there's examples of race.
Can I cross-examine this theory?
Of course you can cross-examine, of course. Of
no,
course.
I know, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if your theory is that the prison industrial complex, and I agree, that's an abomination. We'll start off with there. Prison should, I've done editorials on this on my show. Prison is one of those things that should not be in private hands.
Yes.
Along with healthcare, a few other things that are like, you know, the good part of socialism. They should not be run by people for profit. I agree with that.
Yes.
I did not know about this connection to the music industry, that it's the exact same people. If by that you mean that the people who run the record companies may have stock in prisons, private prisons, that's possible because they all have stock. I mean, do they actually like Monday, Tuesday go to work as a record company executive and Wednesday through Friday go to work at the prisons? No. Okay, so if
of course they're not actually running the labels.
They have
things.
financial interest in it.
They have financial interest.
Okay, so if they have financial interest in the prisons, and your theory, if I'm following correctly, is that the kind of stuff in rap lyrics works as a funnel to get people inspired to do the kind of things that would get them in prison, right? Like, for example, writing a lyric, fuck the police.
Yeah, I mean, writing a lyric, fuck the police,
might get somebody arrested and sent to prison.
That might get somebody arrested and sent to prison. That's just one example, one record that the record company did not manipulate. You know, that's pure artistry.
Right.
But I've seen labels. I've
Did they
worked with artists.
Did they manipulate you?
No. I'm an independent artist. Always have been. I started off on independent labels.
So how were you able to avoid this trap that so many others fell in? What did you do right?
Right, I got a message. I got a couple messages. Central Standard Time, Sharon. Central Standard Time, and she put, if we had money, we would put them to shame. We stand out, and the truth of who we are would be known. They would see the real us. Sharon Washington also said Bill Maher is a Jew. He knows who we are. Right? Agree with you on both. Then we had money. We put everybody to shame. That was really the point I was making, is that nobody wants to see us in that light. They like us in the state that we are because it's fun, and then they can again leave you there and go and elevate to be who they're gonna be. If you could be to the utmost of who we can be, the full potential, the full possibilities, you'll see the fangs come out. You see? That's why when a lot of times you see people who try to argue about Black Americans' position, and the thing they try to do is they try to talk about some of the worst parts of it as that's the only thing we are. They don't want to talk about the greater parts of us. Because those greater parts, even in our low state, we are actually better than a lot of people, even in this low state, even though there's a lot of stiff arming and depriving and disenfranchising us. Even those that make it, those are not even the best of us. So that's what I'm saying. There's two ways they use. They take the most, those who they get that work with them and parade them as the best of us. And then they take some of the degraded ones and they'll promote them too. But the ones in the middle, the ones that really represent, the really ones that is us, you don't get too much. No, it's like some people hearing me talk. You don't get to hear too many of us like talking like this. This is a rare shit. That's why I don't get heard or seen, is because that ain't what they want. So, they pick and choose who they want. So let's look at some of the stuff that's being said here, right? So Cube talking about how the root of the issue is to divide, there's a divide that is being done. So as always, anytime you're talking with them, they want you to get specific. Well, who are you talking about? Who is it? Right? So in Cube's own words, you heard what he said, but I'm gonna just break it down more to what he's saying. Owners of industries have invested interests, financial interests, social interests, right? There's a tie to all those other businesses. Think about it like this. When you go buy at McDonald's a burger, fry, and a drink, that's what you say. You go get the combo meal or whatever the hell, right? You get the meal, burger, fry, and a drink. But that's actually, look at all the different companies involved in that burger, that fry, and that drink. You know what I'm saying? So McDonald's in itself is a brand, and then all the other sub-brands inside of it all in cahoots together. So Cube is saying how the industry that is owned and how those who invest in it, who make financial interest in it, and then there's also an element in it that may have a social interest that might be in it. So all these ties put together, what you'll call like a science. Like a pop is a science. There's some chemicals, there's some sugar, and there's some coloring in there, right? And each brand got its own science to it. Right? So the science of this, what Cube is talking about, is the manipulation to be the driving force that does what? It promotes its business and gets customers. Music industry promotes its business inside those lyrics that these other companies and stuff is tied to, that are using the science unbeknownst. It's kind of like a hidden hand. Because how? Those who know about what? Order out of chaos. That which you see that they promote and that they show out of that chaos has been really a science designed by somebody, like going back to when I was talking about the remote control. So there's a sophistication, a magic trick inside of what they do in that hidden hand. The problem is some people want to sit there and ignore it and rather just say, well, the black faces that I see, right? You're the perpetrator of it because you don't understand how the remote control operates. So you believe it's that, or they just ignore it. Or really it's because some kind of way that they rather believe that blacks, the black nature, is some kind of walking dead. Hmm? Some people believe that our nature is like the walking dead. That if we don't have a special talent or gift that you could see or hear or like, that the rest of us is just walking dead. We have there's no real use for you. But you know, like the pig, they don't throw shit away at the pig. Everything of the pig is good. Every part of the pig is good. They throw nothing away. Throw nothing away. And so you think about the fact that the brainless zombies, a nation is like remember the movie Life, can't get right. So there's some people who believe that we just got a nation of can't get rights. And all that is a belief in their heads. They need that to justify what they believe in or what they think of us, so that allows them to feel good about themselves and not the position they be taking in opposition to us. And yet they'll yell out and say, brown people, we're minorities. But yet they silently move in a position of their own to be separated. But when they're in need and they need you to get something done, oh, it's all of us. And matter of fact, they don't even say it. Somehow remote controlling, we the ones be saying everybody, but nobody never says our name. You ever notice that? We always saying everybody else's name, but nobody never says our damn name. You got some people who sell, and when we say that somehow we're divisive or we self-hating because we'll call it out. Okay. So all this is really is to cover their dastardly deeds. That's really the truth. All this is really to cover the dastardly deeds that are being done in the dark. Sharon Washington said everything has been flipped upside down. Yeah. Everything been flipped upside down. But you have to been around and experienced enough to be able to see it. So it shows like WeUpReport, most hated show on the black corner of YouTube. We're not gonna get to all that stuff. We're gonna get into the things that you need to know. And again, if you like to any kind of contributions, again, you can subscribe, like, share. We throw that up there. It's like, right? You can do that. There's a contribution. If you want to do something, there's a donation to Cashwise that can help me and my family. Because again, 11 years, they make sure I can't make no money. But what am I doing over here that's so bad? Am I saying something that shouldn't be said? Is that what they saying? Ask yourself, 11 years, how did 11 you can't get, I mean, back in time, you had videos that was 300,000, 20,000, 50,000, now you can't get 200 views. Anyway, so go to this other part now. He's going to get into this part here, which is, again, Bill Maher is picking. As a matter of fact, you also say he a Jew. Yeah, he is a Jew, but he don't act like he Jew because he'll tell you he's an atheist. He don't believe in God, right? So again, understanding hip hop and understanding the time when Q was in his day, not saying that he doesn't have any leverage in the game, but we talking about when he was in his day. Did you see how sneakily that Bill Maher, when he talked about how Q was explaining how the industry and how it's manipulation and what it does, then he said how the executives, and there's a committee that'll have them doing things that you think that the artists came up with, but that was things that the industry told him they want him to sing. So then Bill Maher slickly come back and say what? Oh, when you did fuck the police, so you were trying to get people locked up. See how slick that was? Oh, you did them fuck the police, right? Okay. So then Q come back with this.
How do you feel about the police now? Things have changed.
Like I've always felt about them, you don't
think they've changed at all?
In what ways, I think they...
Well, they never used to arrest their own and put them on trial and put them in jail. That's one major thing.
Yes, I
also
think
generation.
I think the people push that change. You know, I don't think.
Yeah, but
I don't think the police
are people.
Internally.
Police are people.
I understand that, but police are
bad
organization. You know, they're a fraternity.
Yes,
and they, you know, they have their rules of engagement. Some, you know, are in the police manual. Some are not. You know what I mean? So
Yes, well,
they're not really
the bad ones are the ones that are in, unfortunately.
You know, serve and protect is not really on their mind. Win and go home is. So there's a lot of problems that was happening in '89 when we did the record, and the same problems are happening today. Of course, because we did the record, police are, to me, held accountable, because before the record, they wasn't. You know, you get guys on the stand, and just because the cop said you did it, everybody thought you did it.
Society is different. 1889, 1989, 2023. It just is.
It is.
And cops are people who come from society. So the chance that a cop would have been racist in 1989, I feel is greater than a young person who, a cop, it's basically a young man's game when they're out on the street, okay? So a guy, he's 25, he was born in 1998. He was born in an era where about the most uncool thing you could be was a racist.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are pockets of this country, of course, where that's not true. But why would you go there? They have no good restaurants. they're you know, you just don't have to go to a holler in Appalachia.
I think it's a situation where, you know, cops, they are young, you know. Because of that, sometimes they don't know how to talk to people. They don't really know how to communicate. The young generation really don't communicate as well.
Because of the phone?
Because of the phone, because of, you know, all kind of different social reasons that they don't talk to each other. You know, they'll be sitting in the same room texting each other. So
what do you make
sometimes them young cops don't know how to communicate, so they go straight for the force. Right. You know, because they don't know how to talk you down. They don't know how to say, hey, man, come over here, what's going on? So they don't really know how to communicate, so the force comes with that. And, you know, accent is the police different. It's like accent is the military different. You know, you might have one or two different kind of soldiers come in and out, but the basic organization is the same. It's not going to change. You know, it's there to win and not to lose.
You mean to get home safe?
To get home safe, no matter what.
That's always been one of my big problems with the police, which they don't appreciate me saying, but I have. They have a bad attitude about how dangerous their job is and how much the priority is them not being in danger. If you want to never be in danger, be a plumber. The worst that's going to happen is you're going to be snaking a drain and you smell like shit. There is an element of danger. So when they say things like, better to be judged by 12 than carried out by 6, you've heard that?
Yeah.
That is
that was one of my rap lines, too.
Yes, it was. That is the wrong attitude to have about the job of policing. You can't be like, okay, how do I solve this problem of me feeling scared now? I shoot the thing that's scaring me. That has to be cured in the police department.
Yeah.
Across lines, because
they're not going to cure that, because
yes, you're right.
They
Because
want their partners to have that attitude. Their partner want them to have that attitude, and if each one have that attitude, this is why somebody gets shot 85 times.
So
you know what I mean? So everybody, you know, the thing is, empty your clip, because AI is going to ask you, why you only shoot 10 shots instead of 16 like everybody else? Did you feel like it was over? Did you stop for a reason? No. So everybody empties their clips. So everybody looked like the threat was the same for everybody. Everybody was just as scared. And now this guy is shot 51 times, you know?
See, you know what? I've mentioned that many times on my show, the thing about shooting, everybody has to empty their clip. I never understood before you explained that why they do that.
Yeah.
I thought it was just because they were so all just jacked up and but
Because
this
if
makes
you
a lot.
stop shooting
No, I get
at
it.
2 shots,
and
this guy shot 16.
I get it.
The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department releasing this body camera video showing a deputy throwing a woman to the ground outside a grocery store.
Stop manhandling me! I didn't do nothing!
The department says deputies were responding to reports of a robbery in progress. When they arrive, they confront the suspects, a man and a woman.
No, wait. No, I'm not under arrest for what?
You're not under arrest. You're
Well, why are you detained for what?
After handcuffing the man, they head towards the woman.
No, you can't touch me. You can't touch me.
Get down on the ground. Get on the ground.
It's already on YouTube
Stop.
Live.
I don't give a stop. Stop, you're gonna get punched in the face.
You punch me and you're gonna get sued.
While trying to handcuff her, deputies use pepper spray, and she accuses one deputy of putting his knee on her neck.
Get your neck off my, I can't breathe.
My client was kneeing her shoulder blade to prevent her from shifting. You can't see exactly with the knee placement, but it's not the neck. They don't place the knee on the neck to cut off the airway.
Another view of the incident from a bystander's cell phone video shows one deputy slamming the woman to the ground.
So my client, as he's trained, takes her down to the ground. It's the safest way and the most tactful way to handcuff a suspect.
The sheriff's department says it's investigating, saying personnel who do not uphold our training standards will be held accountable. The two suspects were accused of shoplifting. The deputies have been reassigned pending an investigation. An activist group calling for the deputies to be fired has planned a rally for today.
Back, right? So yeah, that was Ice Cube saying what he said, right? I just gave you a little visual to what the words he was saying out of his mouth that you seen earlier in the show. Cain Cube is right? You know, being young and a cop out there and, you know, full of, I guess you say, adrenaline and believing you have the most dangerous job in the world. But the protocols that they have seems to go in sync that, like say, if, you know, you got to do as I do. So if I'm going to be an ass and a bully, my partner going to be the same, get down. And that truth that Cube said, as into about emptying clips, that was some profound shit right there, was it not? That was profound shit to say that, so that when they had to deal with internal affairs, if let's say, for instance, what was the young brother that had the 90 shots, and how they all was being justified for that, even though my man had no gun, and they said he turned to like he had a gun, yet wasn't no gun, had gun back in the car and everything, and everybody was justified, right? But according to what you heard Cube said, well, the protocol is everybody let all the clips out. That way, everybody felt equally of the threats. And think about that, y'all. Think about that. So that means one start shooting, they all gonna start shooting. And so when they get done writing them reports, everybody was equally felt the same threat. I got a couple messages right quick. Let me get you a couple messages. I got a couple messages, right? Okay. I got see, Sharon Washington says, okay, every time I try to help our people, they block it. They have been doing that, even a cash out recently to certain people as well. I wouldn't be surprised, sister, you know, I wouldn't be surprised at all. You know, in the case of myself, you could try again, you know, if you want to try, but you know, like I said, I'm trying to find another way to do that if you still want to do that. But I haven't gave up. I just hadn't seen you. I just thought you were mad. I didn't want you to be mad. But then you also came in. Well, all this system, of course, is Luciferian. That's why our people, no matter how old or young, are mistreated. That's the star on the car. You gonna come do a show with me? You be spitting stuff. You and Spencer, you come on do a show with me, right? So again, that was some profoundness that Q was spitting. As you see that Bill Maher was trying to get, well, he's trying to get at Q because Q, again, as I was saying, Q at one time was the voice of hip hop. And I'm not talking about what we talking about today. I'm talking about he had that conscious gangster, you know, those of us at that time when the police was kind of like, you know, that's something you had that already in your tape player. When they pull yours, so you can play it a little bit. When they put, you know, you know what I'm saying? It was an anthem, right? It was an anthem for us at that time. And again, he said, now if you play that, then you actually get locked up. Well, no, it's like he said, they say, fuck the police because such a my car, looking for the plotter, thinking every nigga is selling narcotica. Yeah, right? Remember that shit, right? And we understood that. We know what he's talking about, right? But it used to be, well, we all said it. We're all in jail, right? So we see Bill Maher is saying, well, they're human, they're people. Nobody's saying they're not human and not people. But sometimes it's like being with your homies and they drink and get that bat juice, you know, get that S on their chest. Some of you be like, nigga, you ain't like built like that. Why you acting like that? Should I have been club with my boy? You know how back when we used to do that Thanksgiving, she would go to his house, my house. We done drank, we done brought some shit with us, we done got in the club, we done drank a little bit. And this nigga done got extra swole. This nigga done took his shirt off, he ready to fight the whole club. I'm like, hold on, let me holler, let me pop. That nigga ain't like that, man. Yeah, get your partner before we fuck him up. All right, man. See, he done drank too much. So putting on that uniform, sometimes like nigga drinking too much. He ready to show out. Just like we see that there. Was it necessary for the elders to be handled like that? Couldn't have been a better way. I understand sometimes some people are obstinate and they don't want to follow your protocol. They want to question too damn much. They watch too many damn videos. I know my rights. You know what I'm saying? Your right is kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. Right? But anyway, right? So, but you see that the reason why he wants to poke and prod at Q is because Q still, you know, what they did. Let me tell you what I think. You know, to get Q out of that, they brought him in, put him in Hollywood, gave him movies, tie him up. You understand? Because it's kind of like Chuck D in one way, but this is something different. You know what I'm saying? And so now Cube is now 50 Cube. This is 50-year-old Cube. And Cube looking at things, he said in here, he talking about, I would never do politics. But he's only one of them that you see will openly say he for black people. My people, my black. He the only, you can't find too many of them in there like that. They get the butt for when they speak it. So when he went out and made that, he finna do the circuit and talk about something, a little apprehensive. Like, okay, what you about to say, man? Right? So again, he dropped some good knowledge on those who don't. Again, when you get in that situation, remember they got a protocol, and the protocol is empty your clip, and we're gonna justify because we all felt the same. So if you can prevent yourself from being in those situations, you know, do what you must. Maybe some didn't know that. Some of us already know that. But just for food for thought, whatever that's worth, take it and run with it and hold it and keep it in your glove compartment or the back of your mind. So then this last part here, Bill Maher tries to make it again that, okay, he's trying to justify the police. He's saying these things, but listen to this and be right back.
Thought you were brothers, but plainly you're the father. Anyway, but the difference between 2023 or whenever that happened, 2020, and back in your day, writing your songs, is that back then what they would have said is, we checked the police manual and it is completely exactly as it says in the manual. You put your knee on his head until he's dead. That is what it would say.
And they would have took a
Whereas
bow
now,
and said good night.
he's in jail.
Yes.
Okay, so let's just acknowledge, we're not saying there's no work
but
to
has
be
the
done.
police changed? Did the police put him in jail?
I think when you listen to police chiefs around
Yeah.
the country, many of whom are African American,
Yes.
you hear very
A
different.
lot of them have no power, though, or very
As
little.
police chief?
As police chief.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's because, for one, they're elected officials that's not really coming out this rank and file. If they come out the rank and file, they have their power. But sometimes they put these, they grab these police
they're
chiefs.
cops.
They got these police chiefs and put them in place. And
you mean like William Bratton?
A lot of those guys are the last to know what their guys is doing on the street. They're just the last to know. It's kind of like when it's like, running your show. Sometimes when it's fucked up, somebody's like, who gonna go tell Bill? And you're the last to know, and you're like, why y'all didn't tell me this shit 3 hours ago when I could have did something about it?
Yeah.
So I think they're caught up with the mayor and the news conferences and the fundraising and the kissing babies and
Right.
hi, I'm the mayor shit, and they don't know what the hell, they're lieutenants and they're captains and they're
Thought you were brothers, but plainly you're the father. Anyway, but
All right, so you see, Bill Maher is going to again say, well, look, black people are allowed in positions when it comes to police. So you, Cube, as a person who, the things you said in 89, now we understand what happened with 2000, when he was talking about this George Floyd, and what happened with George Floyd and what transpired and how that became a catch fire or blaze that went through the country, and we've seen the protests and then the things that end up happening. And he said, now, if what you said in 89 and that happened at that day, everything you said was exactly what they said, so they would have had no arguments with it. But he said, well, the difference is between 89 and then is that he went to jail, right? Matter of fact, did y'all even see that they just had about that report about that whole department? Did y'all see that? Oh, look at this.
5th, 2020, George Floyd was killed at the hands of a law enforcement officer who was sworn to protect him. As Mr. Floyd died, other officers failed to intervene. The Justice Department has since convicted 4 former Minneapolis police officers for their roles in the death of George Floyd. As I told George Floyd's family this morning, his death has had an irrevocable impact on the Minneapolis community, on our country, and on the world. His loss is still felt deeply by those who loved and knew him, and by many who did not. George Floyd should be alive today. Shortly after I was sworn in as Attorney General, I announced that the Justice Department had opened a separate civil investigation into whether the Minneapolis Police Department, the MPD, and the City of Minneapolis engage in a pattern or practice of unconstitutional or unlawful policing. I am here today to announce the findings of that investigation. I am also announcing that the Justice Department, the City of Minneapolis, and the MPD have agreed in principle to negotiate towards a consent decree. Since opening the investigation, the Justice Department has engaged in a comprehensive review of MPD's policies, training, supervision, and use of force investigations. Our review focused on MPD as a whole, not on the actions of any individual officer. We observed many MPD officers who did their difficult work with professionalism, courage, and respect. But the patterns and practices we observed made what happened to George Floyd possible. As one city leader told us, quote, "These systemic issues didn't just occur on May 25th, 2020. There were instances like that were being reported by the community long before that." The Department of Justice has concluded that there is reasonable cause to believe that the Minneapolis Police Department and the City of Minneapolis engaged in a pattern or practice of conduct that violates the First and Fourth Amendments of the United States Constitution. There is also reasonable cause to believe that they engage in conduct that violates Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Safe Streets Act, and the Americans with Disabilities Act. Specifically, we found that MPD and the City of Minneapolis engages in a pattern or practice of using excessive force, unlawfully discriminating against Black and Native American people in enforcement activities, violating the rights of people engaged in protected speech, and discriminating against people with behavioral disabilities and responding to them in crisis. 5th, 2020.
That was that report that had just dropped that like maybe last week or so, right? So they had made a determination that they remember, just like with Mike Brown, when they went in over there. There was no police reform or nothing like the Chinese or the Asians getting a crime bill, right? But then there's people again, we're talking about affirmative action and about discrimination and saying that this is an individual thing. And then it's collective, as it says in that report. He didn't individualize it. He said Black people. That's a group. So when you try to individualize things, that's to try to get away from some shit. So the dissent decree, what is the dissent decree? Where's some legislation? Where's the protection? Know why? Civiliter Mortuus. We are considered the walking dead. We are civilly dead in this country. No matter what they keep telling us, they keep proving that word Civiliter Mortuus. That no matter what you believe, how you walk the narrow and straight, you can do that and still your rights may not apply. Does that mean we hate police and white people all in particular? No. You want to ignore the things that you know that persist and not try to rectify it, and then hoping that somehow it just magically go away. Or since it won't go away that way, maybe somebody's trying to, I guess you could say bury us, like you say, Civiliter Mortuus. You're basically dead. You are walking dead. Matter of fact, I think it used to be the devil. The term of Negro is as close as a man can be close to death. The Negro. But the devil says there was some term that sometime I had read a while back. He said something like that. Well, it's like, is that what it is? You gonna try to just, economically castrate, deprive, and just get you to such a level that we're gonna be zombies out here, leaving you with no choice? Is that where it's heading? Is that what it's headed? So a black chief makes it all right when we know the origin of the institution of it was against us from the get-go. It just evolved into what you call it day, and then on the side of the car says what it serves to protect. But again, even from the beginning, when you're talking about equal protection under the law, but Civiliter Mortuus tell us that we've been civilly dead. We've been stateless people. People, again, when they give us names that they know when it comes to black color, American, Black American, American, all these things according in the law are Civiliter Mortuus. They're dead. So then what are you saying to us and our own? Now, there's some people who go out here and then they say they change their status and all that, but does that take you out of being from here? Are you taking up something that takes you outside of here? So you can never claim this. And that's what the real curse is. This is our land. I don't care about what everybody else is talking about. You can talk about the African stuff all you want. That's fine. You can go on my lineage and go drag the African out of it and then bring it to me, and then I'll be like, oh, okay, I didn't know that was there. That don't make me hate Africans. But it's funny how everybody outside of us can tell us who we are, and yet most of y'all don't even know who the hell y'all ass is. You don't know your history. You think you know who you are based on what it is called today. A lot of places that y'all live in ain't even from the language that y'all spoke. So how can it be something you named? But it is what it is, right? I am the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. This has been a We Up Report. It's going almost 4 hours. Again, I did too much again, but again, I enjoy doing what I do. So appreciate all those who was in the house. Let's see here. I got a message here. Sharon Washington says they call us by words and proverbs. That's right. That's right. But they won't call us by our name. But what's gonna happen? Say our name. Say our name. Right? When they're gonna want it all to stop, you're gonna have to acknowledge who we are. You're gonna have to give us that. Like Whoopi said, until you do that, ain't nothing gonna go right. And everybody ain't seen the worst of it because it's coming, right? We know it's a bit coming. So I appreciate all y'all who came by, stopped by if it's your first time, subscribe, like, share, come back again. This will be the hardest show you can find. You can go back in there, put in MRBLOWSURMIND. They're gonna take you to a lady named Maddie Crum. Some white woman, I don't know how the hell that name is associated with my account. And then they're going to ask you again, are you sure you want to go over there? And then even if you do subscribe, they may unsubscribe you. So, yeah, try to find your way. And I'm asking another one. There is a channel called WeUpReport. Find it, subscribe to it. Help me to get that channel up to 1,000, because let's see if we can get them to do what they're supposed to do. So find it if you can. Subscribe to it. For those who are avid watchers of my show that may not be on that one, I know Sharon, you're on the Black Mind TV, but they made that one case. It can't work that either. So there is a We Up Report show that I'm gonna eventually Mr. Blow Your Mind show gonna always be the Sunday show. But go to the We Up Report where you may get some daily drops that I just will upload that y'all can get over there. But the live show will always be here because this is the one that started from the beginning. So, again, I am the most hated show on the black corner of the internet. This has been a We Up Report production. In the house was Mr. Spencer 0620, executive producer, always on time, always thorough. One of my, again, one of those subscribers that all of us who do this would love to have, Sister Sharon Washington. Been a long time subscriber, been here almost from day one. I think it was Aboriginal Knowledge was in the house. I think who else was in the house? What site? Peace. Okay, it's We Up Report. Same as I say with We Up Report, but it's an actual channel. When you see the logo, you know it's mine. you know, just like you see on the screen, you see on the top, you're gonna see that logo, so you'll know it's it. WeUpReport. So those who subscribe over there for me, see if we can get that one up, and let's see if I can turn that one into try to get something economically, because they done already shut this one down, right? So if I can build that one up somehow and make that one daily, then that'll help me out greatly. So once again, that's WeUpReport. Again, everybody who came in, did I miss anybody? No, I think I got everybody. Did I get everybody? Aboriginal Knowledge, Mrs. Spencer 06, and that was it. All right, so again, this is it. To my next show, y'all. And Sharon, try to hit me again on that email again, see if we can get that, see if we can get some conversation in that background. Again, this is the Most Hated Show. And to my next show, y'all, and to the next show. I think we had a show, right? I hit it.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.